Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's betting, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In different parts of the city this morning, a little bit here and there coming off of Jogo Road, as usual at this time, right around the Makadara train station. Nothing to worry about. It's not going to rattle you too much right about now. On the Thika Superhighway, we're starting to see the build-up of it. It's coming out towards a survey in from the Outer Ring Junction, and of course coming in from Garden City Mall. That area starting to build up then past Githurai. We're looking at the Northern Bypass. It's all going to come into Kiambu Road. That's starting to build up as well. So if you're in that area and you want to leave, now might be a good time to do so. You're all right coming off Gong Road. Not too much of an issue getting into the city. Rilo Dingo Way looks good as it does on Langata Road. At least for now. Not really having many issues on Mombasa Road. We'll see traffic build up towards North Airport Road coming out towards Embakasi and then out towards the Eastern Bypass. It looks like we started Wednesday off right. Let us know what's going on where you are this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to Wednesday, 29th of March, 2023. How you doing? Kenya's biggest conversation is on air. Ndu? Otherwise?
Yes.
It's good.
Yes.
Very good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Niko kwa TV jana.
Yeah, for real.
Imagine.
Guy.
Ulikuwa unaongea. Kisema
Vitu.
Yeah.
Majambos na mamambos.
Yes. How are you?
Mimi hapana maneno.
Hapana maneno? Sawa tu.
Niko sawa kabisa.
Karibu.
I is grateful.
Good.
I and I this morning. So CT is on his way. Kuna maneno imehappen kidogo.
Atakuja kutuambia.
Ako kwa njia. Anakuja. I think one of those people of his in the morning
did like that.
Yeah. Did like that. Yep. But otherwise, welcome to the show, everybody, wherever you're tuned in. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing. So, what is the entire agenda of the leadership of Azimio when they are pushing with mass action? Tomorrow is Thursday. They said now it's going to be happening on Mondays and Thursdays. Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow we're back there. We saw what happened on Monday, the aftermath of Monday. Monday, tale of destruction. We'll be talking about it. It's in the papers today. The destruction in Kibra, the destruction of people's property, the invasion of the Northlands property as well, the story there, and the impact of that. Everything. We'll be talking about that with Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, who is also the Senator of Nairobi City County. He'll be here at 7 o'clock for that conversation. At 8 a.m., we'll have another city MP, but this time he'll be talking about something different. Tim Wanyonyi is the Member of Parliament for Westlands constituency. He'll talk to us about grappling with the high cost of living. What next for Kenyans? What is it that would be done and should be done by all those in leadership, including him? He's a Member of Parliament. He's a National Assembly. Okay. And then at 9, Let's talk about now this new renewed push for peace and dialogue. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission had a press conference yesterday where the commissioners spoke to Kenyans and said, you know what, it's about time that we tone down everything that we're doing. It's about time that political leaders rethought their strategies, both sides. And we'll be joined by Dr. Danvas Makori, who's one of those commissioners of the NCIC. And alongside him will be Irongo Houghton, the executive director of Amnesty International Kenya. 9 a.m. That's the conversation to have. Hizo zote
Panambaya, my friend.
All those are good.
On the money.
Very good. Very good. And the live stream is up?
It is doing like that.
Ednah
amefanya hivyo.
Amefanya hivyo?
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's take a break so you can tell us how the weather is going to look like today.
Okay.
Yeah, at 16 minutes after 6. If you're online, you know what you need to do. Just go to our page, SpiceFM KE on Facebook or YouTube, or tag us on Twitter at SpiceFM KE and tell us where you're locked in from this morning. We will do shout-outs after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Life is filled with lots of things. Routine, monotony, same old, same old. Boring. But here's a question. How much of life is filled with life? Join me and my co-hosts CT Muga and Eric Latif on the Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday and find out how you can awaken your senses and fill your days with flavor and with Minute Maid filled with life.
I'm sure you're wondering how you can spend less and get more as we approach the Easter period. Well, the Standard Digital e-paper has a solution for you, and it's the half-price Easter special. For all news and entertainment buffs who look for a credible source of information and content they love, well, this one's for you. We're offering you a chance to pay half for the full story and all the extras. Instead of 6,199 Kenya shillings, pay 3,099 Kenya shillings and stay on top of what is happening across the globe. At your own convenience, for less. This incredible offer is valid till 30th April 2023. Subscribe now. Visit epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and enjoy the half-price Easter special. Get the full story all year long. Only with Standard Digital e-paper. Standard Digital e-paper. Tap tap. Just how you like
Looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 16. It's cloudy at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 24, and we'll see lows of 13 in a partly cloudy Nyeri. Currently at 13, it'll go to highs of 25. At 12 degrees, Eldoret is cloudy, highs of 24 and lows of 12 today. And it's partly cloudy at 26 in Mombasa, highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 32 in a mostly clear Malindi at 26. It's 19 and partly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18, while Kakamega will see cloudy conditions for most parts of the morning. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 16. It's clear in Kampala Wednesday morning, highs of 26 and lows of 18, and partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 24. It's partly cloudy in Johannesburg at 12, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly cloudy Lagos this morning at 27. It's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31. Sunny at 20 in Beijing, going to highs of 25 and lows of 7, while it's cloudy at 9 in Paris. We'll see highs of 20 and highs of 15 in a cloudy London. At 7 degrees Tuesday night, New York is clear. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 12 and lows of 3.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's after 6. Who is online?
Ward Nyakach said he's tuned in from Laikipia University, waiting for the biggest conversation. Well, you're in the right place, my man. Let's see how we kick it off. Channel on Zuku TV. Aye. Okay. No.
Maybe.
Maybe. Perhaps. Okay.
Labda. Msijui.
Victor Biambo says, good morning, guys. Inaonekana leo usingizi iliwafanyia ile kitu. Inaonekana. Okay. Situation room, Wenda Mark, we see you. Good morning to you. Jeffrey Mochama says he's in. Mbuchi Kiamtugo is listening. And John Amasongola, it's been a minute. How are you? Welcome back. Shalo Mukalama is tuned in this morning. Karibu Sana and good morning, Evans Yang. Morning to you, team. Ask the senator, if the ball was in the Azimio court, would they have scored the legitimate goal to raise the lives of Kenyans? Okay, we'll ask Oluchina. Good Ndu Eric and City. I think you meant to say good morning. Good morning to you, Peter Wagongo. It is great to hear your voices this morning. Eric, was that not cattle rustling in the city metropolis of Roiro?
Oh, by the way.
Studio? It's perhaps
it was Asoring.
It was Asoring.
Alrighty.
Gashohis Titus says good morning, tuned in, and Eldoret is where Dan Kuto is this morning. Collins Kiptai Kipsat says good morning. From Kendu Bay, Simon Nyasondu says our leaders should know that the dance of a madman in the market is only good and funny if he's not your relative. This evil will come back to them. Diramu Lucy is tuning from Marsabit. Good morning to you. Kiambu Road specifically is listening. Baba
Lucy
Brittany.
is in Marsabit.
Yes, Lucy Diramu.
Wow.
Marsabit.
Okay.
Nice, no? Good morning. Another beautiful day. Indeed it is. Baba Brittany. I keep telling you to say hello to Brittany. Good morning, everybody. From Robert, Mombasa is tuned in. Shalo Mukalama is tuned in this morning, and MCR James Kimanzi says good morning from Mombasa. Monis Janeth, good morning to you, tuned in from the Philippines. Actually 042, that county. Leadership from both sides of the aisle should stop the emotional blackmail. Emotions don't solve our issues. Honest dialogue will. Sikunjema Ndu Ednah City Muga and Eric Latif. That's Atieno Jermaine Jackson
Asante.
This morning. Mepokea salamu?
Kabisa.
Okay, sasa na misema vitu zingine hapo mzito.
Jamani nini blackmail.
Yeah,
yes.
Hatutaki, hatufanye. Haya. Karibuni nyote.
Karibu kila mtu. City will come with the day's proverb. Now until he gets here, we don't have a proverb. Okay? It's somewhere with him.
It's coming with him.
It's coming with him. All right, but we have the papers.
Indeed.
The Standard and the Nation.
Okay. The front page of the Standard this morning. Portrait of Anarchy. And it's different pictures from different, snapshots of different places. President Ruto then, from his travails, has condemned impunity. And he says the police operationally independent. Azimio leaders blame the president for Monday's chaos. IG Kome concerned over violence and assures the country is safe despite all this hullabaloo and jibby-jabbers. It's okay. The DPP Haji orders IG to investigate planners and financiers of mayhem. And Kenya Kwanza leaders claim Azimio sponsored Kenyatta farm attack to win sympathy. Okay, lots of stuff flying around. Gachagua has been acting president for 69 hours. Take that as you may.
The acting president.
In the absence of the president.
He's been the boss.
He's been, doing the business. He has woken up for the last 2 days as the highest authority in the land with his boss away in Europe. So there's a story about that. It should be interesting to read. 7 killed as floods sweep away property. My goodness. 3 weeks ago, Eric, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about how life is so difficult because people were boiling wild berries that they did not know the poison content of. Because there was no rain, there was drought. We're talking about people whose last animals had died because it was so dry. Today, we are talking about flooding in the very same parts of the country. Because look, what did we hear yesterday? When you see extreme drought and the rains come, expect extreme flooding. Did we prepare for it? It's a question.
That's a big one.
Very, very big one. And so now we're seeing floods in certain parts. Some interesting stuff also going on here. 15 people die in hospital. Rather, no. I'm sorry. 15 people are in hospital after Monday's demos. And the LSK demands Northlands Inspector Probe report, as well as a former MP having been jailed over 200,000 shillings bribery to reopen a petrol station. Interesting stories making the headlines this morning.
Where? Let's look at one. Start.
Okay.
Which one?
Let me tell you about this unfortunate issue of flooding.
Hauna ile nation?
Sasa.
Walifanyia ile kitu.
Oh,
Yeah.
two of my sources this morning have not done like that. One City Muga being one of them.
Anyway,
Are you reading the story now? Or
tell us the story now. We have 5 minutes to the break.
Okay, now let me tell you the story. Like we said, extreme weather patterns, one extreme will almost often follow another. And here we are, 7 having been swept away. How is page 26 so difficult to find? Yeah. Can't find page 26. There it is. 7 die, houses and animals swept away. 3 children and 4 adults were swept away by floods in Gilgil in Nakuru County. Hundreds of families left homeless and scores injured following heavy rains Monday. On Monday evening, heavy rains in Eburu Forest in Nakuru County led to flash floods that swept tens of houses downhill, killing 4 minors and 3 adults. 6 bodies were recovered on Monday night, while the 7th was found on Tuesday morning. Police and rescuers from the Red Cross embarked on a search and rescue mission following the incident. Wanton destruction of Eburu Forest has been blamed for Monday's flash floods that left 7 dead and scores injured in Oljorai, Gilgil in Nakuru. So destruction of forest is essentially what we're talking about, is the cutting down of trees and then the absence of replanting. So reforestation was not taking place. And so what happens when the rain comes? It washes away the land and there's nothing to hold it because the trees are gone. According to former area wards representative Jane Simita, illegal logging in the forest was responsible for the flash floods that swept away anything in its way, including homes, humans and livestock. The gushing waters from the hills caught residents by surprise, and in the process, several homes were swept away. Gilgil MP Martha Wangari said that tens of people had been left homeless and others injured. Wangari added that her office was working closely with the government agencies to assist those who had been left homeless. We woke up with the sad news that we had just lost 7 people following heavy rains in Old Jorai. Gilgil OCPD Francis Tumbo said the bodies of the 4 women and 3 minors had been taken to the Gilgil mortuary. And he added that some of the affected areas were inaccessible because the flash floods had cut off access roads.
It's such a sad story, this one.
I'm telling you.
7 people dying from, one area because of one event of flooding is so sad. Because the other thing that comes with this is the fact that all the topsoil has actually been swept away. People's property and livelihoods have been affected, and the water has gone.
Yep, it's gone. Until another rain, But it's gone. It's gone. That's why it's called a flash flood.
Has just come and gone. And it's the same thing that the stories also are happening around the same. In West Pokot County, Ortu Market, the popular Ortu Market along the Kitale-Lodwar Highway, Kerelwa, Kokotendo and Muino. Flash floods having left hundreds of people homeless. Hundreds. From what we've just come through, just very, very, very dry season. And then we come into this and the water is just going. And that's the same thing that we were talking about yesterday with the agricultural meteorologists who were saying, look, we know whenever we have this kind of extreme dry period, it's going to be followed by floods.
Yep.
Heavy flooding. When we're talking about all the things that we need to do, what did we prepare? How do we prepare ourselves? Said yesterday, desiltation was one of those things. Okay, so there are several water pans across the country, but they're full of silt. Have you actually done any much desiltation? Have you looked at when the floods come, how do we divert them? Had there been early warning systems for people to know?
Oh my goodness. It's really more painful. You know why? What really makes it more painful is that there's something that could have been done about it. That's what makes it so sad.
So there's a Harambee committee formed by the government that is actually collecting funds to feed people who are affected by droughts. All right? Now there's a humanitarian crisis. For example, in East West Pokot, the hundreds of families we are talking about now require humanitarian aid.
Yes, they do. They don't
They
their
have
houses
been
swept away.
displaced.
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian disaster that's unfolding. And even the governor of West Pokot, Simon Kachapin, is saying, now what we have to do is, first of all, think about how to resettle these people, how to feed them, how to keep them clothed, and how to avoid disease. It is such a sad thing. Have we done the best that we could have?
No, unfortunately. And there's a glaring answer to that in terms of what you see or don't see. It's glaring that what could have been done has not been done.
Oh, yeah.
Early warning systems are in place for a reason.
Yeah. It's 6:30. Let's take a break. Let's see how the roads are looking like, and then we'll look at other headlines in the papers shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Life is filled with lots of things. Routine, monotony, same old, same old. Boring. But here's a question. How much of life is filled with life? Join me and my co-hosts CT Muga and Eric Latif on the Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday and find out how you can awaken your senses and fill your days with flavor and with Minute Maid filled with life.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
This morning, coming into the city, a little bit here and there on Landis as you get out towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. It's heavy coming off Kangunda Road, and we're looking at traffic on Juja Road, just past the Moi Forces Academy, out towards the CBD. So that's looking like it's going to be quite something. And we're also looking at it having built up heavy on the Thika Superhighway coming in from Githurai. That's going to continue for some time. Use the service lanes. They're looking pretty good. It'll get you into the city quickly. James Gishore is also starting to pile up our normal Wednesday morning traffic where folks are just getting roundabout to getting out or to where they're going this morning. So I think nothing is jumping out at us just yet. Keep an eye on things. Keep it moving, folks. Let us know if something does pop up. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 90.
Page 3 of the Standard. And so the first one is about a bribery claim. A former Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General has been jailed for 3 years for receiving a bribe to authorize the reopening of a petrol station. Pavel Oimeke was jailed by the Anti-Corruption Court Senior Principal Magistrate Peter Ooko for the bribe to reopen the fuel outlet in Oyugi's Homa Bay County in December 2020. Do you know how much he's said to have received for this? Yeah? Okay, let me read the ruling by Magistrate Ooko. He held a high position as the Chief Executive Officer of a state corporation which called for integrity and accountability. He, however, failed to exhibit the trust which was required of him by receiving a bribe of 200,000 shillings.
At what?
200,000 shillings was the bribe that's sending him to jail for 3 years.
Okay. He received that money to open a petrol station.
Yep. Okay. Somebody wanted to reopen. So IPRA had taken some action on a petrol station, which was found to have flouted one or two regulations. And then, let me read you the story. The incident leading to the bribery started in September 2020 when IPRA officials from the Kisumu regional office raided Nyanginya filling station in Oyugis and found them selling adulterated fuel meant for export. The station's proprietor, Pamela Awor, said she was charged with the offence and fined over 370,000 shillings, which she paid. Okay? After settling the fine, IPRA still refused to allow operations to resume.
Okay.
When Awor visited the regulator's offices in Kisumu, she was told to write an apology letter and meet the Director General, who at the time was Mr. Pavel Oimeke.
Okay.
Since she could not travel to Nairobi, Ms. Awor said she requested her station manager, Wycliffe Odhiambo, to do so on her behalf. Odhiambo, in his statement, said he called Mr. Oimeke and scheduled a meeting for December 2nd, 2020, where the DG demanded 500,000 shillings to get back the petrol station's operations license. Said, nataka hii station fungulie?
Ata pesa.
Wakalea 500,000. But they negotiated up bwana boss. Unajua nimetoka Kisumu. Unajua hata hiyo petrol station mali huko Uyugi. So unajua sasa Uyugi hata hapo kwa hiyo barabara hata ikuangi busy. Ni matatu tu. Sasa unajua 500,000 shillings hiyo mdosi hiyo ndio sasa hiyo ndio margin yetu ya let basi for 50 and I'm just thinking. They settled on 200,000. Okay? From 500 went
from 1 million.
Give okay, let 50% ya hiyo 250. Sina blues uko na ngapi basi? Niko na 200. Let. The complainant said that they agreed he would deliver the amount. Instead, this Jama went to the EACC and reported the matter.
That he bribed
after
somebody.
We have nini and you've shaken hands and said endo lete pesa nikufungulia station.
But like when
guy goes to Integrity Center.
Oh yeah, okay.
On December 10th, EACC gave him treated money to deliver to Mr. Oimeke in his office, and upon delivery, the commission's sleuths
Swept.
pounced
Bas.
and arrested the then IPRA boss. The magistrate ruled that it was so shameless of Oimeke to receive the bribe in his official office and even attempt to compromise the EACC officials who went to arrest him.
Would have been less shameless if you received someone.
Now he's saying you have no integrity, but also you've abused that office by just doing that kind of business in that office. Okay. His contention that the money was planted in his office so as to frame him was an afterthought after he was caught red-handed. He received the money and he hid it in a drawer, which was well recorded by the complainant. The magistrate said the former MP's actions showed that he was withholding the authorization letter for reopening awaiting the bribe. The magistrate gave Oimeke the option of 1 million shillings fine after considering that no public funds were lost. Because he pesa haikuwa any public funds. Even this EACC money is just treated money and it was not lost anyway. The EACC took their treated money and went and spooked somebody else. So now that no money was lost, we're going to do just toa 1 million ama uende ndani miaka ngapi?
Miaka 3. Wewe unaona kama ataingia.
Remember Pavel Oimeke? After this scandal, he left IPRA.
Yeah.
And then there was a by-election in Bonchari. He was elected as the MP for Bonchari in a by-election in the last parliament. He's not back. Just at 1 million.
Otherwise, alale ndani. Oi. I tell you something.
Please tell us.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has been at the helm, but it's been business as usual for him. For the last 2 days, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has woken up as the highest authority in the country. He's made a spectacle of his arrival in his office. In what was arguably a statement of who was calling the shots while his boss, President William Ruto, was away, Gachagua posted on his social media pages his dawn arrival at the office of the president on Monday morning. Monday morning was no ordinary day, with Azimio leaders having planned countrywide demos to protest the high cost of living, among other grievances. The previous day, Gachagua's Kenya Kwanza leadership, drawn from his central backyard, had assembled in Thika to affirm their vow to defend their businesses from Azimio aggression. Time check earlier today, 5:15 a.m. Check. Harambee House Annex. Check. Do the much you can do every single day to make Kenya better. Check. The hard work and resilience of the Kenyan people to make this nation great again is indefatigable. Check.
Total.
Right. He's showing you how
we work, man.
Yeah. So all these things, people that protest, farm raid. We're leading the country. We come to work early. We have deliberately offered, according to the president now, and this is now going on to the story of, police and what should or should not happen. The president's quote was, "We have deliberately offered the police operational and financial independence to work." So when you see the police acting in the manner in which they're acting, they're doing this independently. We have given them this. They are making the best decisions in their capacity as the police service. So don't come and start shouting up and down, because you know what? They're doing their job.
What? So we're waiting for Sitimuga. He has sent his body double.
Another guy came this morning
He has sent his body double.
What? Hello.
Mzee namna gani? Hujambo?
Sijambo, sijui nyinyi.
And you sound just like him.
You sound like him.
Umuhimu wa double ilikuwa lazima kuwe na nini? Kifafanisho, sio? Yes.
What?
Kifafa.
Lazima wafanane.
Sisi, you went to see the guy?
Yes.
He did like that?
Yes. Every 6 months.
Eric every week, you every 6 months. I mean,
Hey, Ednah, I book after this
I'm
city
telling
nicely.
you.
People need to see city Muga.
wow, hello?
Bwana Muga.
Yes.
Hujambo lakini.
Bana, sijambo, nashukuru.
Clean up nice, man.
Na nyinyi hamjambo?
Pia sisi tuko
tuko
hapo
sawa.
hapo.
Nashukuru kusikia hivyo.
Tuna jambo.
Sisi tuko hapo hapo bana.
Mko pale pale.
Tuko pale pale sisi.
Hamjasonga nyinyi.
Zizi. Zi.
Mko tu steady.
Zi.
Pale pale. Rock steady.
You know, city March is coming to an end. When is this birthday?
Birthday ilipita last week on Friday, bana. Last week on Friday. Tukitoka ndio nikasema, he led us on the whole week, just taking us up and down, left, right, and center. City, it doesn't matter.
It was on 24th.
17th.
That's the last week on Friday, pia na wewe.
It was the 24th.
24th, sorry. I'm sorry. 17th was St. Patrick's Day, and you are not St. Patrick. 24th, I beg your
And my
pardon.
middle name is also not
Your
Patrick.
middle name is not Patrick.
Or Saint.
Saint,
It was on the 24th.
Saint, definitely not. Yes.
City, I thought of you, as I always do. You know, let me just take this opportunity on behalf of the whole human race to wish you a fantastic walk around the sun the next 365 days. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very
We're
much.
lucky to have you, man. That city being, that city blushing.
Okay, but this is not city though. This is mtu. Hapana.
Umecheso?
Tutachunguza. As Koome is investigating everything else, we also want him to investigate where is City Muga. Where is City?
I thought it was the DCI that investigates. Or
DCI reports to the
of the report
IG.
Inspector General. Yes, I
Sisi
forgot.
tunadili na mdosi.
So engineer ako kwa
Twende straight.
Tunaanza na yeye. Because there are still more questions than answers of our attacks on Uhuru Raila property. That's a story on page 4 of the Standard today. They're saying that the absence of police during the invasion of former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm along the eastern bypass on Ruiru on Monday is raising eyebrows amid disquiet over alleged involvement of government officials in this attack. That, coupled with the past warning by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah that Raka's youth could one day invade the farm, has fanned claims that the government entertained the disorder to counter dissent from Azimio leaders. Yesterday, the president broke his silence over the ugly incident on Monday, saying the impunity will not be part of the country's political discourse, but also sweeping the matter to the doorstep of IG Japhet Koome. Meanwhile, the LSK has also joined the fray. The Law Society of Kenya has faulted police officers for failing to prevent the Monday invasion of private property owned by Uhuru and Raila. LSK president has demanded a statement from IG Koome on the two incidents. Theuri
Continue the next.
Theuri spoke at LSK offices in Nairobi yesterday, saying it's the duty of the police to provide security to all Kenyans, regardless of their political affiliations.
Okay. Mwangi Moirori and Nyaboga Kiage have written a story in The Nation. And they're telling us how politicians planned and executed the attack on the Kenyatta farm. I think this is interesting. You know, they said it was a matter of when, not if, the criminal, politically motivated raid on retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's family property would happen. And security organs were aware of the plot and they did nothing. And when the invasion did happen Monday, amid anti-government protests led by opposition leader Raila Odinga, the target was the expansive farm at Kamaki's on the Eastern Bypass in Kiambu County. It was looted and torched by a gang that the nation has established was mobilized by some politicians. Another attack was also staged at the gas cylinder maker East Africa Spectre Limited, a company that is linked to the family of Mr. Raila Odinga, by a gang that was ferried from Dandora and Kayole. Plans to raid the Kenyatta property were mooted last Friday and firmed up by Sunday evening, according to further establishment by the nation. 2 MPs, a former governor and a popular Kiambu musician, ding, 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 are among those who reportedly played lead roles in mobilizing the gang last Friday when the plot to counter Monday's demonstrations was hatched. The youths were recruited from Kiambu and Nairobi. The nation understands that they were ferried from Ruiru, Githurai 45 and Gatundu South in Kiambu, as well as Ruai, Kayole and Mathare in Nairobi. Sources said that they were each paid 3,000 shillings, handed machetes and a power saw that was used to mow down trees at the vast farm. The youths were known to belong to a criminal formation going by several names, but coalesced around doctrines of the prescribed Mungiki sect. They're always on standby to be recruited in real estate conflicts where several developers have an interest in one plot. Those other characters are good friends in politics hired for the raid, according to a senior intelligence officer in Kiambu County. He said the intelligence was shared with relevant security circles, but no action or directive was issued until Monday when the invasion began. According to one of the gang members, I was told on Sunday evening that I should be alert because there was a job planned for us and we would be paid well. Okay? Some of the gang members assembled early along the Githurai Mwihoko Road, which connects to the Eastern Bypass, in PSVs, and were paid 3,000 and given machetes, and then they alighted. Then they went and did the business where they did the business. Buses actually dropped them off and they left. And when they were alighting, people were given the money as they watched. According to one motorcycle taxi man, 2 policemen kept watch, but never interfered with the attack, according to eyewitnesses. There you have it.
Okay. So it was planned?
Apparently.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay. All right. Police should investigate this and alongside all the other incidents. Okay. Because as you look at these photos that have been posted here in the nation, I mean, even in the Standard, a mosque that was partly destroyed in Kibra on Monday night, the PCA church in Kibra that was burnt on Monday night after Azimio demonstrations in the area. So people just went in, and yesterday I was speaking to the moderator of the PCA on KTN, and he said that church has just basically been vandalized. No seats, no, it's just a shell of a building now. They've got to start from somewhere, and they can't really tell how this happened. You know, there are various angles to this. There have been tensions in that area of the church, the mosque, ownership of these pieces of land, and those have been simmering tensions but not connected at all to demonstrations. Now, is it possible that those people who have been wanting to advance that conversation took advantage of the day to launch these attacks?
Possible.
Is it possible that, you know, by doing this, you have created tension and fear, so are worshippers going to feel free to actually come to church this Sunday? Is the church going to be able to have recovered and opened on Sunday? All those things. Very many angles to all this. And then also other people's property that has been destroyed, even from last week on Monday. The supermarkets that were raided.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about that one of Muindi Moja.
Tasia.
Muindi Mousi in Tasia. Raided electronics and
a lot of stuff having
other
happened at
stuff
the same time.
taken, gone. All these things require answers, but the answers we know lie in investigations. 15 people are in hospital after Monday demos. At least 15 have been admitted in hospital in Nyanza with various degrees of injuries following the mass protests. Traders are also counting losses after failing to open for business, while some had their properties destroyed. In Kisumu, one person is admitted to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital with gunshot wounds to the chest. 2 people died in the lakeside town. One was shot dead, while the other was lynched by a mob after he attempted to snatch a phone from a man who was walking home after the protests. The hospital's administrator said 2 people were treated at the facility for stab wounds People were stabbed on that day. Somebody was stoned to death. Somebody was shot twice in the chest. Governor Anyang' Nyong'o appealed to the protesters to remain peaceful. In Migori, 2 people sustained gunshot wounds and are receiving treatment at the county referral hospital. They sustained bullet injuries on their legs in Rongo, and they are said to be in a stable condition. In Homa Bay, business people incurred losses amounting to over 2 million shillings following the protests. Youth pelted officers with stones, who in turn lobbed tear gas canisters to disperse the protesters. Some traders had to close their businesses early due to the running battles between police and the youth. Mary Otieno, a fish trader, said they threw away their stocks because there were no buyers. It's fish. It's perishable.
Absolutely.
Buyed, gone. The violence started when we had just bought the fish from fishermen. Unfortunately, we had to discard them because we didn't get any buyers. The chairman of the traders in town, Jack Nyambega, said they incurred losses of about 2 million shillings, saying some traders closed in the morning before making any sales. Let our youth stop throwing stones at police. And then officers should also avoid using force. We need peace.
Good Lord.
That's all we need. There are people, of course, who will come and say, oh, you know, police officers should not incite the demonstrators. Okay, yeah. You want to tell me all those stones we see being thrown left, right, and center are because police officers have appeared or they've lobbed tear gas? There needs to be a condemnation and loud condemnation and a return of decorum from all. Sitting. Look at the till.
It's actually not him. That's why he's taking a while to answer.
You see?
It's not the guy.
Yeah. You guy.
Something that one doesn't come across very often has happened here.
What is that?
Somebody who is in a position of authority being jailed. One doesn't see it, but it has happened.
Pavel Oimeke.
Yes.
We were talking about that here just now.
So, but the thing that caught my attention in addition to that is something even more interesting. There's a gentleman who is the police boss of Kisumu. Okay. Now, this police boss is in a very unique, finds himself in a very unique position, something which ordinarily would not happen, but it has happened. Nyanza police boss Muiruri recalled over Kisumu demos. Some sources, some commanders claim that he's accused of being lenient with the protesters. I told you this was a strange story.
What?
Nyanza Regional Police Commander Karanja Mururi was on Monday recalled to police headquarters over his handling of Azimio protests. Commanders at the police headquarters in Nairobi claimed they were not impressed with the way he handled protests, which were largely peaceful. Now, this largely peaceful means that only one person was shot dead and 2 are injured in Migori. So
That's largely
it's largely peaceful. He was replaced by former Eastern Regional Police Commander Noah Muivanda. Now, this guy Muivanda is not new to Nyanza. He has in the past served in the same capacity in the region. Mururi will wait for new deployment. Sources say some commanders in Nairobi had blamed him for the manner in which he handled the protest, saying he was too lenient on the protesters.
How exactly? Like, he just allowed them to do anything they like and he didn't, you know.
So what is it that he did different than what
others were doing?
our guy in Nairobi has done?
I don't really understand. I'm looking at this article because I think the question would be, what did they expect him to do?
What had they ordered him to do?
Yes, I think that's the heart of the matter. I think it has to do with what he was ordered to do, and evidently he didn't do what he was ordered to do.
Or maybe just a witch hunt. It's an opportunity that somebody has seen.
Somebody been after a scalp.
Somebody amekuwa akitafuta huyu mtu.
Na amempata.
Yeah. And there was an opportunity. Maybe because of the deaths, you know, that there actually has been a death reported. Not this once, not just this Monday, but even last week.
But you see, when you say there is a death, pending investigations, do you really know? You may know the person was shot. Who shot the person? The person was stabbed. Who stabbed? I mean,
when there's all this fracas
yes.
going on,
Do you know what's going on? Because the reports that you're reading a while ago tells you that the individuals who've taken advantage of the protest, as they usually do. Those who want to steal. Those who want to stab people. People will be settling scores that you don't know about, and it'll all be blamed on the protests. Yes. So if you look at the crowds that normally come with protests, if that entire crowd was actually hurling stones, my friend, there'd be mayhem. So if you look at the damage that is done with the stone throwing, it is clear it is a small number of people who are doing that. It is clear.
Yeah.
So then you have to ask the question, are they people who are part of that protest, or is it that this was an opportunity that they were waiting for? Again, when you look at protests and the crowds and you look at people who entered shops and vandalized it, is it that large crowd or is it a smaller number of people? It's a smaller number of people. So you have to ask, were these people protesting or was this the opportunity they were waiting for?
They were thugs.
Yes, precisely. Gun thugs.
Aye.
So if indeed the IG is being called upon to investigate, it is appropriate, let him investigate and let us be told. Yes. And this independence that they have. I mean, the IG has security of tenure, does he not? Yes. But the independence that we're speaking of, when this government came into being and they were allowed to manage their affairs, it's like they have a police public service, whatever you want to call it, commission, okay? I understand that. But so when they say independent of what exactly? And independent to do what? And how exactly does our constitution understand this independence? Because independence, a legal independence, is not something that somebody stands up on a podium and utters and says, we've given you independence. It doesn't quite work like that, does it? Anyway, yes.
There are two cases here that are bizarre. So one is about an athlete. A former marathoner was charged before the High Court in Nakuru with the murder of his 2-year-old daughter. Paul Kiprop is alleged to have killed the girl on the 23rd of July last year and buried her body in a shallow grave at his home at AIC Cabernet Farm in Rongai. The 35-year-old was arrested last week after his elder brother confessed to police officers. So the daughter's mother had been trying to see her child since last June, but every time the matter came up, the marathoner would tell her that the girl was in Nairobi with his elder brother. In December, the woman reported the matter to the police and the DCI in Menengai, from where she was referred to a children's officer. Kiprop was summoned and ordered to come with the child, but he failed to do so. This prompted police to conduct investigations into the girl's whereabouts. The elder brother was summoned by investigators, and it was during interrogation of the elder brother that the man confessed that Kiprop had killed the child.
His daughter?
Yep. The body was exhumed for postmortem and DNA tests and positively identified.
Wait a minute. I just clarification. They were looking for the child and the mother, of course, asking, I want to see my daughter. This now led to an investigation by police.
The mother, every time she says, I want to come and see my daughter, the father says, oh no, ako Nairobi na my brother.
Yeah.
Ako Nairobi na my brother. It made her now start complaining. So she went to the police. She said, I've been trying to see my child and I can't see my child. This man tells me, mtoto ameenda mtu ananinyang'anya mtoto yangu. So she was told, go to a children's officer. Matter went to court. Children's officer said, bring the child.
The child.
Yeah, come with the child. He didn't. So now the DCI was involved. They were told, Abu, investigate the whereabouts of this child. Where is the man hiding the child? They spoke to people. They called the man's big brother. Big brother kuja hapa. Wapi mtoto? Sijui. Wapi mtoto? Sijui. Wapi mtoto? Akawacha polisi, wacha niwaambie mimi ukweli afande. Said, mtoto ako kwa grave.
God forbid.
Another story here. A police officer has claimed that a Nakuru woman forged the death certificate of a Nakuru businessman, Peter Muraya. In his testimony, Constable Sado Fofula says the woman and her son also forged a sale agreement for Muraya's land in Bahati, which is 37 acres. Nice. Margaret Wairimo, Muraya's alleged widow, is said to have conspired with his son, Simon Shege, to deceive Muraya on his dying bed in 2017 and purchased the land for only 5 million bob. 37 acres for 5 million. Not a bad trade. Wafula told Nakuru Principal Magistrate Ruth Kefa that in October 2018, he received 2 death certificates for Muraya, one from Wairimu and another from his son Joseph. He said he wrote to the Registrar of Deaths and the National Registration Bureau to ascertain the authenticity of the documents. There are 2 death certificates for the same person. Coming from one person who says she's the widow, another one who says he's the son. Kunaendaje? The registrar replied and said the death certificate given to me by Wairimu was fake. Hapo ndio shida ilikuwa.
Oi.
Time for the news. Let's get there. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. We start on a sad note where Banisa Member of Parliament Kula Maalim Hassan has passed away. Maalim Hassan died at the Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi. Maalim Hassan has been the Member of Parliament for Banisa since 2017 after he successfully defended his seat in the 2022 general election through the UDM party. Here is Maalim.
We have a new party, a young, vibrant party called UDM. This is the party of the future. This is the party that we shall use to channel our problems, to sit with the patrons and the principals in this country to effectively fight for our right.
Our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends now. National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has denied allegations that he funded attacks on the Northlands farm that belongs to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family, saying that his remarks prior to the invasion were just a warning to the retired president against violence should he not cease funding opposition activities.
I cautioned him last Saturday but one. I told him the same, my message, and I addressed, if you listen to that clip, I was very particular. I addressed none other than Uhuru Kenyatta. And I said he's a sole and singular financier of this Azimio chaos, as the chairman of the Azimio Council. And I told him, if you continue to orchestrate violence, violence has no end, it has no boundaries. You find it at your doorstep.
While calling for investigations into the attack, the Kikuyu lawmaker further accused Azimio Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga of seeking entry into government through a handshake, adding that the opposition has overlooked constitutional avenues in seeking solutions to pressing public problems.
Issues that are of concern to the Kenyan people, like the cost of living, have got an avenue where we can discuss these issues.
While in Kirinyaga, Ichung'wah warned that the former president's farm was at risk should his alleged sponsorship of opposition activities continue.
Mali ya Mkenya ikivamiwa, hata hizo mashamba zenyu tutazivamia, na wenye hawana mashamba wapate mashamba Kenya hii. Musifikiri ati wananchi wa kawaida ndio watapoteza mali. Even you will pay a price if you continue to instigate violence and bloodshed in this country.
The legislature instead raised questions on the absence of police officers stationed at the Kenyatta-owned farm, accusing the former head of state and Odinga of orchestrating the attack and laying the blame on the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Kenyans need to ask themselves a curious question. How comes even the policemen, elite policemen who guard Northlands, were nowhere to be seen? We have not had any reports, not from the OCS of the stations around Northlands, not from the OCPD, not from the Inspector General of Police. That was the distress call to the police for backup.
Now, about 48 hours since the property belonging to Kenyatta's was invaded by unknown intruders, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki is yet to address Kenyans on what transpired on the day, especially on the question on the obvious absence of the police since the raid took place. Kindiki only took to his Twitter account, and I quote, "We must protect our country from sliding into irretrievable anarchy." Questions being raised is whether he was aware on the incident and how he could not use his authority as the Interior CS. This as President William Ruto told Kenyans in Germany that his government will ensure that it protects property of every Kenyan.
I will ensure that everybody's property, it is my duty, everybody's property, everybody's business, everybody's hustle is protected, and the lives of the people of Kenya are protected. It is the duty of the police. My administration will make the resources necessary, the policy decisions necessary for the police to execute their mandate in accordance with the law.
And Inspector General of Police Javed Kome says that an investigation has been launched on the attacks on Kenyatta and Odinga's properties and that the perpetrators will be arrested and taken to court. And the Director of Public Prosecutions has once again dropped corruption charges against Edith Kimani, the daughter of politician and current Lands Chief Administrative Secretary Kimani Ngunjiri. Edith Kimani, who is also a former Nakuru County Chief Officer for Trade, was charged alongside 7 others with the embezzlement of public funds in the construction of market sheds at Kiratina Market in Menengai Ward in Nakuru County. This is News. I am Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
2 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic having built up in certain parts of the city. It's coming off heavy off the Thika Superhighway, a little bit of traffic at that Pangani underpass, and then after that you're fine going towards Muranga Road into the CBD, but it's heavy on Thika Road. It's bumper to bumper in many parts. It's also heavy on Kiambu Road, and we're looking at traffic on James Gishu Road spilling over to Wayaki Way. Ring Road Westlands also pretty busy from all we see. It's heavy on Jogo Road, and we're looking at Lunga Lunga doing the same thing, likely to spill over to Likoni and that interchange, and there is traffic on the Eastern Bypass. It's coming in heavy on Kangunda Road, Manyanja Road, everybody touching on Outer Ring, and we are in traffic hour proper early this morning and likely to carry on for some time. Where are you? Are you stuck somewhere? Let us know. Want to keep things moving this morning, and let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room on this Wednesday, 29th day of March, 2023. Live on Spice, live on KTN Home, live online on YouTube and Facebook. Also reminding you, if you send a message to 22365 and on the body of that message, write the words 2 Rivers. Centum Real Estate are going to get back in touch with you. They will tell you about the developments that they have, especially around 2 Rivers. Okay, and that's not all. They also have other developments. But for this week, we are focusing on the developments at 2 Rivers. Different apartments that they have, different sizes and different prices. And they can give you all that detail and tell you how you can begin your home ownership journey. So apartments are under construction, different stages of construction. The ones that are currently under construction are going to be ready around March next year, in about a year's time. And you can think of purchasing a 1-2 studio, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Talk to them, they'll tell you. So send the words 2 Rivers to 22365. Sindio? Sindio? Yeah. And throughout the day, as you're having, a busy day, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I need just to relax and unwind or take a break and breathe. What do?
There's a beverage that allows you to do just that. Minute Maid. Take a moment with Minute Maid to relax and to refresh. Have an hour moment when your day and the pressure is piling up around your ears. Take a sip of Minute Maid in all the wonderful flavors, and that pressure then goes down.
Okay.
Have the moment.
So Monday came and went, and we've seen what Monday has been like. We're still discussing the events of Monday. Tomorrow is coming. The leadership of Azimio and those who are organizing and calling for the street protests have said it's going to happen twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Tomorrow is coming. We are still discussing yesterday. We'll be discussing yesterday and also discuss tomorrow with the Secretary General of the ODM party, who's also the Senator of the Nairobi City County, Edwin Sifuna, who's with us in the studio. Edwin, good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me once again.
I
see City has welcomed with some goodies. I don't know if I can mention them. Are they sponsors?
Sema ni peremende bana umepewa.
Nimepewa peremende hapa lakini sasa
Sweetie Muga.
Sweetie Muga.
There you go.
Asante. It was right.
His character, I couldn't.
So it's always a pleasure to be with you. You are still my favorite radio studio in the whole country.
Studio station.
Studio.
Okay.
It's the best studio in Kenya. Yeah. If I get into the other issues, itakuwa controversial.
Nesawa. City. Give us the day's proverb. Still in the country of DRC.
Yes, I'm going to read it twice. One for the hour that I hadn't read it, and one for this particular hour.
Okay.
All right. Even without drum beats, the banana leaves dance. Even without drum beats, the banana leaves dance.
Say it again.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
Right. Senator, when you hear this proverb, what is your interpretation of it?
I'm a politician, so the first thing that has come to my mind, there are certain accusations that Uhuru Kenyatta has been financing our demos. I want to assure those who are saying that without those drum beats, the banana leaves will still dance. You don't need to finance anything.
Even Nairobi, without the support of Uhuru Kenyatta?
Even without me as a senator financing demos. Because the people of Nairobi, the people of this country are actually tired with life. They are unable to feed their families. Even if it was not Sifuna or Baba saying, come out and protest, I am telling you, these banana leaves will dance.
So even if it was not Uhuru who's supporting these demos, who's sponsoring these demos, and he'll still be demonstrating.
And actually, there is actually no proof that has been offered to show that Uhuru is financing these demos.
No denial.
And I'm asking myself, what is this finance for? Because as the senator of Nairobi, personally, I have not seen this money, and I don't need the money. If you look at the equipment that we are using, the vehicles we are driving, they are the same ones we were using in the campaign. The sound system that we have is the same one that Baba was using in the campaigns. So all you need to do, like last time on Monday, we drive out of Chungwa House, which is just next to Kawangware. We go into Kawangware. Even the people themselves were surprised to see us there. We didn't tell them we were coming. So if you have not told people you are coming, how have you given them money? What is the money for? Secondly, as far as I remember, political parties and political movements also get financing from their membership and patrons. As a member of the Azimio coalition, it is known publicly that part of my salary is deducted to support activities of the political party. And I will tell you why, City. There is a Political Parties Act in this country, a law that is supposed to provide financing for political parties. And it provides that 0.3% of the last audited accounts is supposed to be set aside for political party activities.
The last audited accounts of the country?
Of the country, yes. And up to today, City, no government has ever complied with that particular provision of the law. In fact, as we speak right now, ODM's debt, the money you owe us as the public, is now at 10 billion Kenya shillings. 10 billion shillings. And what is interesting even more, even when they are unable to meet the 0.3% threshold set in the law, even the small amount that used to be allocated, at least by the Jubilee government, this particular financial year, they are reducing it by 500 million shillings. So you can see that there is an effort to cripple the activities of a political party. So if Uhuru Kenyatta still remains a member of Azimio, I, Sifuna, admit to be financing the activities of Azimio. It is there in my payslip, I can show you. It goes to Azimio every month. And even during these times, you see, we have a lot of things that are happening. We have to put together a very serious legal defense because cases are coming at them by the minute. We are paying for those lawyers. We are fundraising to pay for those lawyers. It is not a crime to finance political activities. It is a crime for you to finance criminal activities, So anyone who's telling you, oh, this is Uhuru Kenyatta financing, first of all, I have not seen that money. Number two, I am a contributor to these activities through my salary at the PSC in Atoleo and Enda Street, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
So I am telling people, City, I think you usually find these misemos depending on who's coming and what is being discussed. But I'm saying even without the money that Sifuna gives and the other members of parliament, the banana leaves will dance because Omwami, things are bad.
So let me ask you then, yes, Senator, is there an organization, a structure of organizing, like tomorrow's demos?
Yes.
Is there a way in which you're mobilizing resources?
What do you mean by resources? I've told you how we mobilize resources.
No, you haven't. I'm asking now for the details.
I have told you.
Because we have, you have your vehicle, you have other vehicles.
There are three sources, actually 3 sources of money and resources for political parties. The first one is the political parties fund, which I have told you the challenges we are facing because it has been stifled. There is every intention to kill opposition parties in this country because the ruling party, the UDA party, they will find other ways of financing them, even through public exchequer. But we don't want to go into that. There is a political parties fund.
Yeah.
There are donations by members and subscriptions by members. I, as a life member of ODM, pay 5,000 shillings every year towards my political party.
To ODM?
To ODM.
Okay.
Secondly, every single month, as an elected member of ODM, I pay 20,000 shillings. I am one member of parliament, but we have almost 100. So each one of us pays
from your salaries.
From my salary, it is deducted.
It goes to the ODM. It goes to the ODM
party.
Yes.
Yeah. Then each MCA, we have almost over 500 MCAs elected under ODM, and this is across the Azimio parties. Yeah. It's not just ODM. So that is where we get. And then donations. If you look at the Political Parties Act, it allows for donations to come from individual members of the public or individual members of a political party. That is how we finance our activities.
I get all that. So now, with the Azimio rallies,
yes.
What I'm asking is specifically, so as the leadership of Azimio,
yes.
have you sat down and now agreed that for Thursday, for example, ODM you'll contribute $1 million, Jubilee you'll put in $1 million, NAC Kenya you'll put in $2 million, Wiper you'll put $1 million, like that? Have you now agreed how you're financing Thursday? So that now, because so that we know that Sifuna you'll go and
because you see, like for tomorrow, I don't know what the bill for tomorrow is. What is the bill for tomorrow? Because
so how are you mobilizing money for tomorrow?
That's what I'm saying. Money is not needed tomorrow. All we need is the people, Eric. And the only time when we have to look for resources is the after the event. You find 10 people have been arrested. You need to pay cash bail for them. We call members of parliament. We do ad hoc harambes quickly. We just know, yes, we need there are 10 people at X police station. We need X number of lawyers. We need 100,000 shillings for cash bail. We just fundraise there. That's
so the money is not even coming from the party?
No.
So for
because
example, we can say
the money that goes to the party goes to support programmatic activities. The party is an institution, Latif.
Yes.
The party does not exist to plan demos.
Do demos.
That
was exactly my point.
The party exists for other things. For instance, right now, I am supposed to be paying rent for all the county party offices that are there. Those are programmatic manenos. We need materials.
I get all that. So the question directly.
Yes.
You're saying there is no mobilization of money by all the political parties.
No, we don't need money. I am telling you, all I need tomorrow, for instance, is to pop up with my car, which everybody knows. I have campaigned with it. The sound system that we have to fuel that car. We don't need a harambe to fuel my car. I can fuel my car. So all we need to do is to go to the people, like we did on Monday. When we go into Kawangware, for instance, you are telling me all those 200,000 to 300,000 people were mobilized by whom? They didn't even know we were coming there. And tomorrow, you don't even know where we are going. Yeah.
Okay. As we're looking at this demo, Senator, I think the question, and it's good to hear the answer from as many people as we can to then understand what outcome is being sought after.
Yes.
We know what the demand is in terms of the mass protests will continue in this manner until certain things happen.
In fact, the
thing is to ask then, the guarantee that is still being sought after, where are you now? Going towards tomorrow.
Now, this is the last week that we will be giving notification for maandamano, because what we have realized is that these notifications serve no purpose. We understand the genesis of the development of a law on exercise of Article 37. The intention was that you give notification to police for them to be able to provide security for the protesters. But what we have realized is that the notification now has become an invitation for police to visit violence on us. You people have followed us, and I want to thank the media for braving what is essentially a very ruthless attack on people who are unarmed. You know, if you look at, for instance, all the processions we have had, we move very peacefully. Everything goes well. People are cheering you. They're happy to see you. You stop the convoy. You speak to them. Once you're done, you move forward to another place. There's another crowd waiting for you. But in that process, it took us maybe 10 minutes from the time that we left Chungwa House. And by the time we were inside Kawangware, the police were already there. They start firing at us using the water cannons for no particular reason. And in fact, when we left Chungwa House, I told the journalists, because you know you are my friends, I told them that this time around they are going to target your equipment, because you know these people want to switch off the lights, and you know very few good things happen in darkness city. So they were targeting to blast your cameras with water, and that's exactly what happened. So that first of all, when there is no accountability, because the media, your presence in this protest are saving lives. I am probably just still alive because they could see that there were cameras there shooting back. So we are saying these notifications are not serving any purpose. They were supposed to be for invitation to protect us, but they are now inviting people, the police, into our protest so that they can harm us. So going forward from next week, there is no day we are going to issue a notice for maandamano. It will just happen spontaneously, because we have realized it doesn't make a difference. You comply with the law, you give a notification, they still, without any constitutional power, declare the thing unlawful. So what we are going to do going forward is that maandamano will happen any day, anywhere, spontaneously, because there is no purpose of us giving this notification. Number two, where are we now? You see, at the end of the day, I have told people that it's not as if the demands by the opposition are nebulous, or you are unable to ascertain what it is that we're asking. We're asking for things that are known, and some of them are actually based on promises that were made by the current regime. So, if you, we have said time without number that Sifuna, as a senator of Nairobi, my salary is public. I can afford unga even if they decide to sell a packet at 1,000 shillings. So, you know, I am not doing this for myself, because I can afford unga. The people that I represent, because if I told one of these, I went to see my bishop of Nairobi, the Archbishop of the Catholic Diocese, and I told him that he probably gets the same messages I get, because you know when people are in distress, they seek out leaders and they seek out the leaders of the faith. But I told him I wish we could exchange our phones, so that he spends a day with my phone just to read the distressing messages that we receive. We are also human beings. Every single day you are reading 1,000 messages of people saying they have slept hungry. What do you think it does to you as a human being? You know, every single day people are telling you, my children are in the house, I am unable to take them to school. So we have told this government that if you want this maandamano to end, in fact, if the maandamano is driven by people, if it is just Sifuna and Raila walking in the streets, it's not maandamano. So can you take away the people from us by taking away the reason why we are fighting for these people? Stand up today and announce that unga is 70 shillings the way you promised. I will have nothing to tell the people of Nairobi. Why would I bring them to the streets? It is that simple. This is a promise he made. And by the way, they have had more than sufficient time. You remember, just a few, the promise was that immediately he puts down the Bible, he will work on the cost of living. Then he told us that in the initial days, there was some fertilizer that came from, was it Russia? He told us now this fertilizer is going to be applied on the crop currently in the field. And once we harvest this, the food prices are going to come down. That maize was already harvested. What happened when the maize was harvested? They started threatening farmers that you have to sell it at this particular price, or else we are going to import GMO maize. We are the ones who stood up and said no, because we had promised that we will not import a single bag of maize until the maize in the stores of our farmers is bought. They blackmail our farmers. Right now, they are telling us about a second crop. They have brought another story of fertilizer. And you people in the media know, even today, farmers are saying that fertilizer is substandard. These people are playing games with us. Right now, Rigathi Gachagua has asked for another 6 months. Another 6 months, And for us, they always ask us, what is the alternative? Why is the opposition not giving alternatives? We have given them an alternative, a very simple one. Even if you dispute it, by the time we were going to the election, whatever the purpose of that was, I was buying unga at Naivas for 100 shillings because of the subsidy.
Okay.
Now,
you did?
Yes, and I have receipts for it. I was the senator of Nairobi.
Yeah.
I was in campaign. I was an aspirant then.
You were a candidate.
Yes, I was buying unga because sometimes you go into campaigns and people ask you for unga, and you can ask the management of Naivas. You know, these are not things I can make up. I even have receipts for this thing. I bought unga at 100 shillings because of the subsidy.
How many times?
There were challenges. Now I go through a packet of unga maybe once a week. Because it's just me and my 6-year-old daughter. She doesn't
know
eat
you
as
have
much
receipts.
as
You
me.
have receipts, so I'm asking.
Yeah,
how
so
many
I
receipts you
can.
have.
The point I want to demonstrate to you is that it is possible with the application of that subsidy to bring the cost of unga down. And we are saying the subsidy doesn't have to be permanent. Because you are working on all these other programs, or you've told us you're subsidizing production. Let's wait for a crop. We can wait for 3 crops. Let's say the subsidy will be in place for 6 months. What we are saying, Eric, is that as we wait for your programs, these grand programs you have to reinvent our economy and so on and so forth, we need to eat today. I am hungry now.
So apply a
You can't
subsidy
tell me
immediately.
that I will eat in 6 months. It's not possible.
Apply a
so
subsidy
we have,
immediately.
yes, we have given the alternative. You ask us for alternatives all the time. Apply that subsidy so that at least you assuage the condition of the people as we wait for these other grand programs to come into effect. And the problem is, even after lifting or removal of that subsidy, we don't know where that money has gone. What we are hearing is there's 800 million shillings that is being set aside to purchase cars for Musalia Mudavadi, to purchase cars for Rigathi Gachagua, and for Ruto. What we are hearing is CASs, immediately they were sworn in. In fact, we have protested. These are an unnecessary appendage. You are spending 2 billion shillings on 50 people, and yet this is money that could go to help to assuage. You see, I don't know how you people interact.
Senator, let me ask you a simple question, just based on that. Do you think that there is, from what we're seeing, because we've been told that, I mean, and this is the thing, because we now have to be able to connect the two.
Yes.
The mass action that we are seeing today, and then the probable results of that.
Yes.
We have to. And this is the thing. Will the mass action then lead to a probable result? And the question is, do you then, with what you've said now, do you then think that they don't have a desire, the government of the day does not have a desire to reduce the cost of food which Kenyans need today?
There is absolutely no desire, because desire is something you can ascertain. You can tell from the conduct and the actions of someone that there is a desire to do something about a certain problem. But look at their priorities. Even as we speak, I'm a member of the Energy Committee in the Senate. These people are trying to be clever. They have no intention of lowering the cost of living. Because we in the Energy Committee, because Kenya Power used to send us a detailed power bill. And we sat and we asked ourselves, what is the one thing on this bill, this itemized bill, if we dealt with, we would actually reduce the cost of power and assuage the situation of the people. So there was this thing called fuel cost charge, which we zeroed in as a committee. Fuel cost charge is the charge we pay for the fuel used in generation of electricity using diesel and the other, thermal sources. So we identified even the power plants. There's one in Muhoroni. There's one here in Thika. There's another one down at the coast in Kipevu. And we called the Kenya Power people to Naivasha and asked them, what would it take for you to remove just one of these fuel plants from our grid? Now, it's a very simple solution. Kenya Power know it. They told us that there is a power generation plant somewhere in Sondu. Yeah? And the problem is that this power plant has no connection to the South Nyanza side.
Which power plant? The hydroelectric?
Yes, at Sondu.
Yes, it's on the river.
And that if they do that line that connects Sondu to South Nyanza, and then they are doing another line from to connect the geothermals to the coast, we could actually take out 2 of those power plants. Now, what came as a shock is that instead of us now progressing that argument, and these people realizing that we are looking at the detailed bill, because that's what the law requires. You have a right under the Consumer Act
to scrutinize.
Not to scrutinize, to be given information for you to fully understand the product you're consuming.
Yep.
What they do, instead of us dealing with the reduction of power, they go now and hide all the charges in one lump sum so that we, the representatives of the people who have been following up on these issues, are unable to follow up on where the problem is. There is no intention. We have just had a report that now electricity is going to go up 60%. These people have no intention, They have no intention, and in fact, they have no plan. Because if there was a plan, by now, you would be able to see the plan. So what we're saying is, we cannot keep quiet. If I was elected to be a representative of a people, I will represent those people.
Mheshimiwa, when you say there is no plan,
yes,
and yet you say the activities going on,
yes,
if the activities, as you say, are not intended to better the life of the citizen,
yes,
and yet the activities going on, what plan do these activities point you towards?
No, I think there is a nefarious plan by people to enrich themselves at the expense of the public, because if you are intended on helping people, we could see those pro-people, activities. If somebody comes in and the first priority, when they were campaigning, they were saying they will start at the bottom, yeah? And the first priority was to engage with the DCI and the EACC to get the people off the hook, those who are facing criminal charges, got off the hook so that they could come then into cabinet. You hear, City, things that are so worrying, and I'm sure for people like you who have followed the democratic process in this country, that somebody sat down and drew a cabinet memo to remove parliamentary oversight in the disposal of public assets. I can assure you that is not something that is being done for the public benefit, because every time, and I've said before, every time people say, aya, sasa wacha tuzime taa, I am telling you, my friends, you know for a fact that this is supposed to achieve nefarious ends, So what we want to do is we will continue to put these people on the spot on behalf of Mwananchi, because that's what I was elected to do. Some people, don't understand. My existence to some people is very grotesque. It doesn't make sense to them why Sifuna behaves the way that he does. But I know you need me here. You want somebody to be saying the things that I am saying. You want somebody to be making this noise, because you can't do it yourself. You know it. So we will continue to hold these people to account. And we are saying this protest, if Ruto stands today and says, yes, he has returned the subsidy, even if it's for 3 months,
Yep.
let the people feel at least some relief. And then the question of reconstitution of the IEBC panel, because it's a big issue. It's a very big issue. We are saying that in a democratic process, you cannot be the person who selects the referee on your own. And I will tell you how it's on his own, because this matter came before Bunge. And there's people who say, oh, Sifuna, why don't you say these things in Bunge? We say them in Bunge. The good thing is that...
Or will you say these things if you want?
Yeah?
It's on record.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on record what you've said in Bunge.
Yes.
Let's take a break.
The proceedings in Bunge are actually live.
There. Yes.
Yesterday, I don't know if you people saw, yesterday we, as the minority side, brought a motion to extend the time for the sitting of the Senate so that we can debate the deteriorating, security situation in the country. Do you know what happened?
Yeah.
The majority side, because they don't want debate on this thing, it is very difficult to defend some of these things, City. They know it's wrong. The majority side voted against debate on the issue of insecurity. I was very surprised. Even people that I consider friends, people like Danson Mungatana, the senator of Tana River, who knows that even in Tana River, there are questions of insecurity. The motion we were bringing was to discuss insecurity in the broader context. It doesn't have to be just about maandamano. I am the senator of Nairobi. I can discuss the question of the security situation in Kibra. The senator for Kiambu can tell us about the attack on Uhuru's farm. The senator for Kisumu, it was an opportunity for us to have a conversation. Is what the police doing right? They voted. And by the way, do you know how they defeated us? Because the score was 11-11, and the Senate rules say that if there's a draw, the motion is lost. Do you know how they achieved 11? The speaker voted. The person on the chair also voted and said, no, we will not have this debate. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, this bill came to the House, the bill on the reconstitution of the IEBC.
I want us to take a break. Then we're going to it in detail.
Man, I'm on a roll, man.
Yeah, I can see. It's 27 minutes to 8. The Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who's also... what are you in the rank of Parliament?
I am also the Deputy Minority Whip.
You see?
Yes.
Yeah, you should have been able to whip more people so that you can defeat them yesterday.
I did.
Number one.
I didn't know that the Speaker was going to vote.
Yeah. Oh, you had done your math and you knew you were winning.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, let's take that break and then we come back and continue this conversation. Also, remember, time for the Minute Maid break.
Indeed, when you feel as though the pressure is up to your ears, take a Minute Maid break across flavors: apple, pulpy orange, mango, tropical, and take an moment, de-stress, and then come back to it. Moments with Minute Maid.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I'm sure you're wondering how you can spend less and get more as we approach the Easter period. Well, the Standard Digital e-paper has a solution for you, and it's the half-price Easter special for all news and entertainment buffs who look for a credible source of information and content they love. Well, this one's for you. We're offering you a chance to pay half for the full story and all the extras. Instead of 6,199 Kenya shillings, pay 3,099 Kenya shillings and stay on top of what is happening across the globe at your own convenience for less. This incredible offer is valid till 30th April 2023. Subscribe now. Visit epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and enjoy the half-price Easter special. Get the full story all year long. Only with Standard Digital e-paper. Standard Digital e-paper. Tap up, just how you like it. Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it? There are signs of a sprinkle in Nairobi. It's mostly cloudy at 16. We'll see highs of 24 today. 24 will also be the high and partly sunny in Nakuru at 15 and 14 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 25, and it'll go to highs of 24 in Eldoret, where it's currently 12. 26 and sunny in Mombasa, highs of 31 and highs of 32 in a sunny Malindi at 26. It's sunny at 19 in Kisumu, highs of 28, and it'll go to highs of 28 as well in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 17. It's 18 and partly sunny in Kampala, highs of 26 and highs of 29 in Dar es Salaam, where it's partly sunny at 25. Looking into Joburg, where it's cloudy this morning at 13, highs of 23, and at 27 Lagos is clear. We'll see highs of 33 and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM,
All right, so
Nairobi.
In most parts of the CBD this morning, coming in from Langata Road, if you're coming in from Gong Road, or coming off of Waiaki Way, the Thika Superhighway, Uhuru Highway, into the city, it's really busy. We're looking at Limuru Road, also busy now, and Kiambu Road coming in from the Northern Bypass is also going to be quite something. The service lanes are doing people some good on the Thika Superhighway because it's jam-packed from Githurai inbound. The question is what's happening? Well, it's Wednesday morning and it looks like there will be a bit of a sprinkle, and so that's likely to clog up things a little bit. So let's keep an eye on things. Coming out of Westlands, not too bad. Looking at Waiaki, we use the Red Hill Link Road. You'll get into the city much quicker. Let's look at the other side of it. So we're working off of Mombasa Road, going towards North Airport Road and Outer Ring. A little bit of traffic here and there, but manageable. Let's keep an eye on things, guys. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
22 minutes to 8. The conversation continues with Nairobi Senator, who is also the Deputy Minority Whip in the Senate, who is also the National Secretary General of ODM, the second largest party by numbers in Parliament, Edwin Sifuna. Edwin, I like how you've taken us through this,
yes.
Because you're now showing us what it would take for you to say, okay, we have seen movement, we can now call off the demonstration.
Yes.
You said number one, bring an UNGA subsidy. And then the other one is let's have a conversation about the IEBC composition, and we'll go into the others. This one of UNGA subsidy, a supplementary budget came to Parliament the other day.
Yes.
It was scrutinized by members of the Budget Committee. It was taken to the whole House. ODM has 8 members in the Budget Committee of the National Assembly. And Azimio as a whole has more than 10 members
Yes.
in that committee. But they approved the supplementary budget without pushing for the introduction of an amount that would go into the subsidy. Subsidy would come from a budget. The current budget policy statement has been approved by even your members and been recommended for passage before the whole House without any conversation here of, no, we recommend that you put a subsidy amount. What do you say to that?
First of all, it is not right. It's a mischaracterization of what happens in Parliament. Decisions, both at the committee level and in the House, are taken by majority. And I have said that the beauty with our democracy is that parliamentary proceedings are live. So, for instance, in the Senate, where I sit, that budget policy statement was unable to be passed for 3 weeks because of the opposition that you're discussing about. What you need to understand is that Parliament works by majority, and part of the reason why we said we need to take some of these conversations to the people is that we as elected representatives only, we undertake what is called delegated authority or delegated, what is the term?
Responsibility.
No, not responsibility. I will get the word back. But the truth is, when you are stuck as a delegate, like for instance, on this question of the IEBC, even on this question of the budget, once me as the elected senator of Nairobi, with all my wit, with all my brain, with all my eloquence, I have tried at the floor of the Senate to bring sanity to bear. Once I am defeated, I'm unable to do it because of the circumstances prevailing in the Senate, including the example I've given you yesterday, where rules are being flouted, rules of debate are being flouted to defeat every single attempt to bring sanity to bear.
Delegated legislation.
Yes. No, it's a delegated authority.
It's authority.
Yeah. Yes. Then you have a right to go back to the person who gave you that authority and tell them, this is where I'm stuck. Because the beauty is that these so-called Senate standing orders, they don't apply to the people of Kawangware or the people of Nairobi in general. So you have a right to go back to them. So what we have done, and
no,
you know that the origination...
Answering that question directly and going by what you're saying, there's procedure. Of course, the majority will carry the day.
Correct.
But even in committee stage, if the minority strongly feel against something, they will produce a minority report.
That is what I'm saying. The minority report will go nowhere. We are not going to engage in exercises that are academic. And I want you people to understand.
For the record.
I think
it's there for the record.
Yes.
If my record indicates that Millie Odhiambo, Babu Owino, and the others
so it is there.
have also said to the supplementary budget.
They did not say okay. They did not say okay because you would have to produce to me a Hansard report showing that they voted for those proposals.
And
they did not vote because
and their votes are made plain.
Yes, I speak as the SG of ODM. I speak to all our members, including this question of the budget policy statement. I know those members you're speaking about. I spoke to Honorable Sam Matandi, who's a member of that budget committee, and they give us the breakdown of what usually happens. Latif, there is impunity in Parliament. I am telling you. I have given you one example. Let me give you another one. The other day, there was a motion that was brought to the floor of the Senate to change our standing orders to essentially do what the president asked the leadership of Parliament to do, to allow these so-called cabinet secretaries to appear before the Senate. Now, on the face of that report, you know the report is brought to the House, right?
Yes.
The standing orders require that a report of a committee be adopted by a majority of the committee members.
Yes.
On the face of the document before me as your senator, there are 4 signatures out of 9. We raise the objection and tell the speaker that this is an unprocedural motion because of the so-called numbers. They bludgeon it through. Don't think that these people, because they know what they're doing is wrong, they don't follow the rules of procedure and the rules of debate in the House. So they pass this motion, and you see, for me, you can go to the Hansard, you will see the contributions of members of the minority, you will see the vote that Sifuna took on that particular issue, because we think that is the wrong thing to do. And we will follow up because we have told them that it doesn't start and end in Parliament. We as the minority side are going to file a petition because we believe these people are violating the rules of debate in the House. They are bringing on procedural motions and they are bludgeoning them through. I understand that the people of Nairobi, those who supported the opposition, want to see an effort. And I believe that they are seeing the effort that we're putting in, both on the floor of the House and even outside the House, to bring some sanity to bear on some of these issues. So even on the budget, they brought the budget policy statement. We could not see, because one of the things that was very glaring for me, number one, they told us that they would cut borrowing. And the budget policy statement they brought had a deficit of about 800 million shillings, billion. And they told us that they are going to have to finance this through domestic and foreign borrowing. You know, we are going to oppose that when the Nini comes, because what we are seeing is that the recurrent expenditure is growing, yet there is no effort. Like this hiring of these CASs, it is totally superfluous and necessary. So how do you tell us you are loading up recurrent expenditure, and then at the same time you want to saddle us with more debt so that you can pay? There is no desire. Absolutely.
I'm a little lost here.
Yes.
Something I need to explain to me. What is a minority report?
A minority report is a report by members of a committee who disagree with the position taken by the majority in that committee.
So does a vote constitute a minority report?
No, it doesn't. Because
it has to be an
actual... What Eric wants is an actual report every time we lose a vote in the...
Actually... Not every time. Specific
to some we disagree with
it. Eric has said he doesn't want one. I do. You know why?
Not every time. Basically, let me first explain.
Please.
I want the main ones. Yes. For example, on the matter of budget.
Yes.
Because budget then brings to bear everything that we're talking about. If the minority is not happy with the budget that has been presented by the executive, they ought to put it on record and say, we disagree with this.
Yes.
Okay? So when you now come out as a senator for Nairobi, as the leadership of Azimio, you say, we have objected to this in the House. They are bulldozing it to pass, but this is what would have presented had we actually sailed through.
Yes.
These were our amendments, and they've rejected these amendments. For example, you'd have said, we'd have wanted 200 billion shillings to go to an unga subsidy on record in Hansard for posterity, and then on record out here. Continue.
So let me explain one thing before you conclude. Record in Parliament is the Hansard. And the contributions that people make on the floor constitute the record. It is not that the only record you can have is a minority report. I'm trying to remember there was a minority report that Junet Mohammed prepared. I don't remember what the issue was, but I remember Speaker Wetangula refusing to actually even put it to the floor for debate. I am telling you, we are operating in an environment of impunity. Yes. But at the end of the day, when these matters come to the floor of the House, even that minority report is subject to a vote. I understand what you're saying. You need to be able to see what our thoughts were, but I'm saying you can still discern those thoughts and those positions from the debate on the floor of the House.
You see, there is what parliamentarians understand, and there's what us lay people understand.
Yes.
You see, the report, from what I gather, has also a role. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been constituted.
Yes.
Now, that role, if I understand it correctly, is amalgaming all these voices of dissent and writing it down so that there's a document that represents all this dissent. How can that not be important?
So it is important. So you will the purpose of that minority report, because committee reports are voted on in plenary.
Yes.
The purpose of that report is for you to go to the whole House and report and say, we disagreed with the following things. And the intention was that it would be possible for the minority to convince the House at plenary to agree with them.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
But in the environment in which we are operating, where even the Speaker will not allow that minority report to be debated on the floor of the House, I am telling you, it serves no purpose. What we are saying is this, City. This democracy provides us with various platforms to actually air our views. And just like some people will say, the greatest consequence is in Parliament. But at the end of the day, if I cannot get my report to be voted upon, because what has happened is that immediately we get into Parliament, they start decimating numbers on the opposition side, grabbing a few members here, a few members there. And the purpose was exactly this, City, so that we are able to defeat these dissenting opinions. If we still had our numbers the way they were, we would be able to put a strong resistance. In fact, we were the majority in the National Assembly. And they knew they could not pass some of these things if the situation prevailed. That is why they went after our members. Because in Bunge, unfortunately, for you to achieve consequence that thing has to be supported and passed as a motion in the House.
I agree.
Yeah.
But then, you've just described the political situation in this country and political processes.
Yes.
We saw this thing. I mean, we've seen it happening in our political landscape. We saw what Kibaki did, didn't we? Okay. Now, all I'm saying is, when the opposition present the things that they present, you see, you're explaining things in great detail that we did not understand.
Yes.
Would it also not help enormously if with every issue, instead of you, Sifuna, coming to explain it to us, you took the time to ensure that on every issue that this government has taken a position and you disagree with, that you actually voice and speak your suggestions. Speak. Saying bring the price of unga down is, yeah, bring it down. We've heard. Okay, and then reduce school fees. Okay, we've heard. But what I'm saying is, sometimes, don't you think it would assist if people heard that Azimio's position when it comes to reducing or adding is this?
Yeah, so City, everything I'm saying here on radio and on TV, everything I say there in the rallies, I have said on the floor of the House. I think that is the point I want you to get. I have said these very things, and I want to use a good illustration that ties into the discussion that we're having on the question of the constitution of the panel of IEBC.
Yep.
So this bill is brought to the House, right? And it proposes that we have a 7-member panel to reconstitute the IEBC. Those 7 members are supposed to be drawn, 2 from the Parliamentary Service Commission, 2 from what they call the Interreligious Council, 1 from the Law Society of Kenya, that makes 5, 1 from the Parliamentary Public Service Commission, and 1 from what they call the
Political Parties Liaison.
Yeah, Political Parties Liaison Committee. So when the bill comes to the floor of the House, you want me to tell you how we voice our dissent.
Yeah.
The proposal on 2 representatives of the Parliamentary Service Commission, we argued on the floor, and it's on the Hansard. It's a record, you can go and get it. That in fact we needed to tweak the language to make it clear that these 2 representatives of the Parliamentary Service Commission are a representative of 1 from the minority and 1 from the majority, so that you can have balance in that panel. You know? But as we speak, City, we were shot down. That amendment did not pass because of those numbers that I'm talking about. And what we ended up with is 2 representatives of the Parliamentary Service Commission nominated exclusively by the majority. Okay. These are the things we are discussing.
Okay.
Number 2, we told them that, in fact, in our view, and these submissions are there, I'm using the same language I used on the floor, that in our view, the greatest stakeholders in an election, or the election body, or the electoral body, are the political players.
Nope.
That's
in
my
your
view.
Okay.
My view is that, and I gave the example of when the church convened the Council of Nicaea to settle controversies at the inception of Christianity. The bulk of those people were bishops and leaders of faith. Because essentially, if we are determining what goes into the Bible as the gospel, you cannot call plumbers and media practitioners to settle that controversy. They are the people who you call. I gave the example of an election of FKF, Federation of Kenyan Football. It is the clubs participating in the
election
who elect even rugby, which I know is a fan. Eric is a fan. KRU, when they are electing, I'm sure I hear they have elections.
The upcoming elections.
Yes. Who are the people who vote in those elections?
It's the clubs.
So in my view, very humble view, the greatest stakeholders, because the political parties are a tool for democratic participation. They're actually the greatest tool of political participation, because if you look at the number of people who participate in elections through political parties, they are more than those who participate as independents and through other ways. So our conversation was around, number 1, this position that was given to the Public Service Commission. My view, again, is that the Public Service Commission is an extension of the executive, because that person is an appointee of the president. So why would you give the president that one slot? Tumempatia your PSC. Number 2, amechukua the 2 representatives from parliament, from the majority side, that's already 3 people. Then we come to this
clergy.
These people called the clergy. Now this is the most controversial one. Number one, you are talking about an organization that is not anchored in law. This thing called the Interreligious Council does not exist anywhere in law. So we asked the question on the floor, who are these Interreligious Council? Now, you understand what has happened with the leaders of the faith in the country, because they have decided to take, not all of them, a large section, especially of the evangelicals, have decided to take sides. They are the ones who are, holding prayers for rains.
Actually, you would argue that the religious grouping in this country is divided, all taken sides.
No, now, this is the issue I'm coming to, City, because we saw the danger that, in fact, if you say we are going to select 2 people from the Interreligious Council, these people are all going to come from the side of the religious groupings that have coalesced around the president, the first lady, and the deputy president's wife. They are the prayer warriors in State House. And to reinforce my point, I told you that I had a meeting with the Archbishop of Nairobi, because I went to him. I'm Catholic. He's my leader of the faith, to explain to him why we are doing the things we are doing here in Nairobi, my expectations and his expectations. We had a very good meeting. And I asked my bishop, was the Catholic Church consulted or involved in the selection of the 2 representatives of the Interreligious Council?
He said no.
And he said no.
Okay.
So the Catholic Church, with the entire following of the Catholic Church in Kenya, did not participate in this.
Let me ask you, Edwin.
I am telling you, there is a problem. And by the way, I followed up.
This reconstitution.
I followed up and asked another major mainstream church, the Anglican Church, of which Baba is a member. Baba also told me that his bishops have told him that the Anglican Church was not involved. So I am telling you guys, all of these people, the 7 people, are people who have been selected to be at the beck and call of the current regime.
The current president.
And we are saying it is not possible for you.
It is not right.
It is not right.
Okay.
And we are saying it's not possible. Because
the law that was amended
is that this team here,
the law that was amended.
Yes.
What did it replace? How was that selection panel constituted previously?
Initially,
the one that brought in the Cherera 4.
The bulk of the representation was the Parliamentary Service Commission with 4. Okay. And it was clear in that particular law that 2 were going to represent the minority and 2 were going to represent the majority.
Which are all handshake.
No. There's nothing like all handshake.
Majority,
there's
minority,
nothing like all handshake. What we are saying is that is what the law is.
I have a question for you.
Okay. Who are the other 3 members?
Let me finish the 3 other members.
There was LSK.
Yeah. The next one is this representative of the Political Parties Liaison Committee. And Azimio, because Azimio is the largest coalition. We are the bulk of the political parties at the PPLC. The PPLC is constituted of political parties, the IEBC, and the registrar of political parties. It's supposed to be a place where all these political players can be able to exchange ideas. It's just a talk shop. Then you give them 1 slot, and they end up with the chairman of this party called Progressive Party of Kenya, which is essentially a Kenya Kwanza political party. He ran for some seat there in Kisii and came 3rd. And he's a supporter of William Ruto. It's on record. You can fact check me on that if you want. Then the last one is the LSK. Of course, for the LSK, I'm a member. I publicly asked the president of the Law Society of Kenya not to send a nominee because this is a charade. Because this person, the problem is people don't understand that these people, all of them...
You've explained, we've understood.
Yeah, just a minute. There's another point I want you to understand. All these 7 people, when the candidates come before them, will be scoring them.
Okay.
And the aggregate of all the scores that each one gets is how people get onto the commission.
In 30 seconds, Edwin Sifuna.
It is pointless for you to have 1 representative
in
there.
In 30 seconds, it will do nothing. Edwin Sifuna.
Yes.
The previous panel
yes.
that brought in the Cherera 4, it had 4 members of the Parliamentary Service Commission, 2 yes. from majority, 2 from minority. Majority was Jubilee, minority was NASA. It had, who are the other members? Law Society?
LSK was there.
Right.
PSC was still there.
Right.
And I think,
I don't know who
were there. I don't know who, I think the faiths were there.
The faiths were there. So the only difference this time is that you've reduced the number of members coming from the PSC and increased and introduced the political parties liaison.
The difference this time is that, this
and majority,
panel, let me finish, Eric. This panel, when you're putting together a panel to select a referee, it should reflect the balance of political power in the country. I have given you the story.
Did the Cherera 4 panel...
Just a minute. I was not there. I was not in Parliament for the Cherera 4.
You were the Secretary General of ODM.
Can we speak about this panel
that
I have
participated in? You were the Secretary General of ODM.
Let me speak about this panel and explain to you my problem. You must have a political process that reflects the balance of political power in the country. Even if we were to use the contested election figures from the last election, William Ruto is supposed to have scraped through by 200,000 votes, and then look at the entirety of the composition, and I've given you the breakdown. The entirety of the composition of this body, does it represent the political balance in the country? That's what we are saying. This panel will represent Ruto.
My answer
we will bring people who represent the remaining half of the country at these meetings of this committee, so that we can also have our input on the selection of the panel of IEBC.
Thank you.
For the questions of the handshake, you can ask the people who shook hands. Okay. Sifuna has not shaken anybody's hand.
Okay, you are a leader of ODM, which was the largest party in the minority. But thank you very much for joining us, Senator. Thank you. Come again soon. We'll be following up, of course, on what happens today and going into tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to talk about what happens today.
It's already time for the news.
It's okay. This is also news. I have been summoned to the DCI. Mm-hmm. So
from here, you're going to Kemburu?
And in fact, they have not given me a written summons. I just heard it from, they called Danson Omari, who is a coalition lawyer. And they said that they want me and Oparanya to appear. Okay. We don't know for what. But what is happening here, you remember the story of bailing the cat. The leadership of Kenya Kwanza are in agreement that Baba needs to be arrested. The police are in agreement that Baba needs to be arrested. Their minions are in agreement that Baba needs to be arrested. Where they are stuck is the person to do this arrest. And that's the next meeting they need to have. Let them agree amongst themselves who will come and arrest Raila. Because summoning me or arresting me, I am a very small player in this particular cause. So let them take their grievances. And in fact, the president himself said it. You have a problem with Raila, deal with Raila. Stop harassing us. You know where he lives. I can tell you where he is right now. Go and arrest him. Why are you looking for Sifuna? Why Oparanya? But we will not be cowed.
Will you be appearing before the DCI?
Yeah, I am a law-abiding citizen. I'm an officer of the court. I am an advocate of the High Court. If they summon me, I will go there because I have nothing to hide. I will be there. Let them tell me. I was being told that the rumor is that they think the sufuria I was carrying in Kibra I stole from a Mamamboga. Let them go and tell me what crime I've committed. And the most ridiculous thing is I'm being summoned before people who have made clear criminal pronouncements that have resulted in invasion of people's farms. How can I be summoned earlier than the livestock thieves on Juja Road, in Juja?
Actually, you're asking how you can be summoned. Weshima, you have been summoned. So that's how you can be summoned.
2.5 minutes, no, 3 minutes after 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues.
Election panel chaired by Nelson Makanda had set March 28th as the deadline for applicants to send their applications for consideration. Out of the 920 applicants, 25 individuals showed intent to fill the post of chairperson, while 895 are battling for the commissioner's slot. The IEBC reconstituting panel maintained they will conduct the exercise of filling up the vacant commission, despite the clamour by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition for the exercise to be halted. Makanda pointed out that the many applications by Kenyans were a clear sign that they trust the ongoing process to reconstitute the poll body. Now, Kenya Revenue Authority conducted a sensitization forum on betting tax, which aims to provide detailed insights and create awareness on betting tax, its impact on revenue mobilization, integration with betting firms and compliance. The KRA's Chief Manager Domestic Tax Department, Miriam Sila, stated that the Betting Control and Licensing Board regulates the betting and gaming sector while working with other multi-agencies to check on compliance of the companies. She disclosed that there are over 170 firms licensed to operate in the country. Sila stated that the betting companies are required to register for tax through the iTax system, which is fully integrated and automated web-based system. And the Director of Public Prosecutions has once again dropped corruption charges against Edith Kimani, the daughter of politician and current Lands Chief Administrative Secretary Kimani Ngunjiri. Edith Kimani, who is also a former Nakuru County Chief Officer for Trade, was charged alongside 7 others with embezzlement of public funds in the construction of market sheds at Kiratina Market in Menengai ward of Nakuru County. Edith Kimani, alongside 6 other suspects, including officers of the Nakuru County government and the directors of levy contractors, the company contracted to construct the Kiratina market sheds, were arrested and charged in court on the 31st of January 2023. The suspects were arrested after the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission received allegations that the county government of Nakuru had paid around 10 million shillings for the construction of Kiratina market. It was alleged that Levy Contractors Limited, after winning the tender to construct the 2 market sheds, only put up 1. This is News. I am Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so a few minutes after 8 o'clock, we are in traffic hour proper. Many of these Nairobi streets packed to the rafters. A little bit here and there on Langata Road. It's also still looking a bit busy on Jogoo Road, though not too bad. Gong Road busy. We're looking at Langata Road, who's going to get some of it coming off like Magadi Road, right around the Bomas of Kenya. James Gishiro, very busy, heading out towards Wayaki Way and then onto the Red Hill Link Road. Wayaki Way is busy coming into the city. We're looking at also Ring Road Westlands with quite some traffic as well. It's not letting up on the Thika Superhighway, heavy coming in from the Garden City Mall. We're also looking at traffic on Kiambu Road, heavy, as well as Limuru Road. A few minutes after 8 o'clock, we'll see what it looks like in about half hour. So keep it moving, folks. Let us know what's going on. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
conversation. As you've heard, Edwin Sifuna has left here. He's heading to DCI headquarters to respond to summonses sent to him and to go and respond to some questions here and there. We'll follow up with that later and find out what exactly the questions were. Conversations continue. Send the words 2 rivers to 22365. That's 2 rivers to 22365. And then what's going to happen is that Centum Real Estate will get back in touch with you. They will tell you about this development at 2 rivers. This is very close to the largest mall in Eastern Central Africa. Here there's another one, Isli, and until that one has now come out properly to say it's the largest.
For now.
For now.
For now.
2 rivers still remains the largest, okay? There's another one that's come up in Isli, and everybody's saying this one, way larger becomes larger.
Yes.
So Centum Real Estate are developing some beautiful residential apartments around the 2 Rivers Mall, and they are selling them. There's one that's still ongoing. It's under construction. The current one under construction. Date of completion, anticipated date of completion around this time next year. So if you want to get onto this one, onto this bus, this is the best time to get onto it. Have a conversation with them how you can own either a studio, 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment at the 2 Rivers Mall, and send the message 2 Rivers to 22365. That's a message 2 Rivers to 22365. You'll receive a response immediately with numbers to call, and they will call you. We are now going to have a conversation, continuing to have the conversation about, the food prices in the country. Cost of living is high. What's going to happen? What's the best way? What is next for Kenyans? Member of Parliament representing the people of Westlands constituency in Nairobi, Tim Wanyonyi, is our next guest. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to have you, Mheshimiwa.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm happy.
Very good.
Yes.
City has the day's proverb. This man looks like City Muga. You know, the last time you were here, you saw a different city.
Yes.
Man walked in here this morning, about half an hour into the show, and he looked like City. And I think City is somewhere doing one or two things, and he has sent a body double who sounds like City.
This is a 6-monthly ritual. Every 6 months, I reduce all the hair on my face. My face includes my head. So I reduce it. Now, this is the reduction.
This is it.
Yes. So I've been reducted.
So every 6 months, City goes on holiday and sends us this
guy
who comes with a script saying, 6 months, blah, blah, blah. Okay. City is double ganger. Please give us the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of DRC. Even without drum beats, the banana leaves dance.
Even without drum beats, the banana leaves dance.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Tim, this proverb, it's from the DRC. What's your interpretation of it?
You know, when we were young, we used to be told, you are sent to the market, and they tell you that if you see there is a particular grass which dances to the wind, and it dances very well. They say when you see it dancing, don't stop. Just continue with your journey. So some things in life, they remain constant. They don't change. And your happiness sometimes is not defined, it's defined by the environment around you. And that's how I look at it. That the leaves will dance because the environment around it is still conducive for it to exist. Yeah.
It's not the drum beats, some external factors that are not related to what actually makes them dance.
And many of us are defined by that. Even when we define disability, is by the environment around you, how you react to it. For example, if I come here and there was just a single step, it will hinder me from entering here. But I find that there's nothing hindering me. I came straight. So the environment sometimes defines anything you want to do or what you want to achieve in your life.
Mheshimiwa, we just had a conversation with Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the conversation, he was telling us that his phone is constantly inundated with messages from constituents asking for help here and there because of the tough economic situation. Somebody saying, I'd like to send my child to school. Please assist me with school fees. Somebody saying, I have not been able to feed my family, or I'm having difficulty just feeding my family. How can you help me? You are not a 1 or 2 term member of parliament for Westlands constituency. What are you? Can you say the same is happening with your phone?
Unlike the senator, I have a constituency office, and all requests or anything that people want from me, they direct to the office. And along the way I've served the people of Westlands, we agreed, my phone, you call me when it's very necessary. Otherwise, if you have something that you want attended to, go to the office and we will serve you. And it works.
What kind of requests is your office receiving?
Fees, funeral, health issues, all manner of things, by the way. All manner of things. Somebody comes and says, my children have not eaten for 2 days. So you sometimes, you don't even ask a question. You just have to do something for them. Yeah.
Is there
but
any
things
difference?
are bad. Things are really bad.
How different is it this time from how it was, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
No, right now it's worse. It's bad. There's no money. There's nothing going on. Like, people have closed down. Even those who are employed have been fired. And they have to pay rent, they have to feed their children have to go to school. And the other thing that is now really bothering us is the kind of school fees schools are asking from parents. Now, even primary schools, which we know is supposed to be free education, they are paying fees, and not small fees. They are paying a lot of money. Look at this monster called junior secondary. This junior secondary, I don't know of what purpose is going to serve in our education system, because these children are just trapped somewhere in between. There's a standard 8, there's a junior secondary, this another level of, and there the transition is that they must have uniform like the secondary school. And the standard 7 who are senior to them, they are wearing the normal primary uniform. So, and then they are paying also a lot of money. Uniform alone is costing almost 20,000 uniform. And the government has promised they'll pay 15,000 for their capitation. That money has not arrived in schools.
Not yet.
These children are supposed to be in schools. The infrastructure has not changed. At first, they had put this thing at the second school.
Yes.
The second, then they moved it back to the primary schools. So most of those schools are not prepared to receive this junior secondary. So they are there trapped somewhere, and they have one teacher. The government posted one teacher.
I mean, we could sit for days and talk about the different things that need attention. We can talk from, the rising cost of living, food and otherwise. We can talk about, the diabolical situation in the education sector that you mentioned. We can talk about the health sector. We can talk about infrastructure. We can go on and on and on. As somebody who has seen things unfold in being able to govern a particular area, is it possible to be able to keep a handle on all of these things and do them well at the same time? I think that would set now a course for us to now be able to discuss. Is it possible to be able to say, okay, let me handle education a little bit, sort it out. Let me see what I can do to make life a little bit more bearable for the citizen in terms of food and livelihood. Let me see if I can sort out the health. Is it possible for all these things to be handled simultaneously?
It's a delicate balance, but sometimes you have to look at what is most urgent thing to be done. For example, somebody who comes, children have not gone to school, but the worst thing is that they have not fed for a day or so. So even if you enable them to go to school, these people are hungry. They need to eat. And without food, that child, even if he goes to school, it's a useless thing because he will not concentrate, he will not learn. And so we have to start with the basics. These people need food, bottom line. And then you can sort out the other things. Once you sort out the stomach issues, at least the rest can sort themselves out. And we have always said, the government, don't try to do everything at the same time. Do the basics. Let the people do the rest. Because if people are able to have food, if people are able to go for have health check without any issues, and people have security, the rest of the things they'll sort themselves out. I believe that. Yeah.
During the COVID period, the government then reacted to helping people cope with the situation. Understanding that people were not going to be going to work, understanding that there were many people who were losing jobs, understanding that even businesses had to shut down because of COVID, the government came up with all these measures. For example, reduction in VAT, reduction in income tax, setting aside money and saying that this money is going to help people, indigents here and there. Is it the kind of thing that you hope the government would do, or do you have a different approach this time?
I think the best thing is to do things that are sustainable, because some of those were just short interventions that can enable people move on or deal with the current situation. But going forward, you cannot sustain that, because if you say the government will feed people, then people will sit back and wait for it to be fed. Some other countries, they create, like in India, they have something called the ration shops, whereby people go there and get these things at very, very affordable rates that they can, go on fitting themselves and doing things like that. But here, I think we have not had a good solution to reach even these handouts that we see people going to do relief food, strinini. That relief food, they will give you once, and then they go away.
Yeah.
They don't know how you'll survive after when this food is over. So it is better we do something that is consistent, that is sustainable, than coming up with just short interventions. Because if we say we must find a way, I was listening to the president of Zimbabwe and saying they have found a way now to have a food security, and they're going to do irrigation, and this irrigation will produce enough food that will feed the citizens of the country. He says they can even now they have learned that with their own scientists, with the war in Ukraine, they can produce fertilizer instead of importing fertilizer. So you have to look for homegrown solutions, and these sometimes are just within the people. Me, when we were growing up, these problems we are seeing today, they were never there. People produced food, people produced, basics that were there. Only a few things that were maybe hard to come about, but the rest of the things were available.
What are these sustainable solutions then?
Sustainable solution is to make sure that you create an enabling environment for people to find a way to work and earn a living. And that you make sure that the government must make sure that the tax level must be reduced, and then the access to credit facilities, those who are doing business, are affordable. The farmers who are farming, they must have a market for their food and the stuff to go and sell, and on like that. And as we say, if education is free, it must be free. It should not be free just by policy, but it's not free at all. Yeah, and the minister looks helpless. I don't know why.
Which minister?
The Minister for Education. He seems not to know what is actually his commandate. He seems to be.
One of the things that I think would confuse anybody who ascends to a position of authority, like, say, a minister, is that some of these problems we speak of are not a creation of this government. They are things that have existed. They've simply come in at a time when, should we say, the intensity of the problems are greater. And the manner in which they go about handling these particular problems, or at least what we are presented with, doesn't inspire confidence that they are actually going to solve the problems they're claiming that they're solving. You see, when one gets mixed messages, and Mheshimiwa Sifuna said this clearly, and you've repeated it, that if the fundamentals aren't being taken care of, then how do you expect someone to believe in these grander things that you keep talking about, and yet something which is fundamental to them, and everybody agrees it is fundamental, cannot be resolved? So how then can you claim, and how believable is it that you will then be able to resolve a far more complex problem?
Yes. And the problem is, sometimes we want to solve a problem and you don't know what the problem is. These people, if they went down to the ground and they went to the place where people are living and also have that interaction with what is happening, especially in schools. Me, I spend time in my schools and I know what goes on in those schools. So if I go there and they tell me that they don't have toilets, I know for sure they don't have toilets. I'll have to do for them that thing. And these are some of the things that we want these ministers to come out of their big offices and go to the people and listen to the people. And the Constitution provides that before you make some certain decisions, there must be public participation. You must go there and
engage.
Fanya hizi baraza na watu.
Do you think the problem is that they don't really that they don't understand what people are going through, and that's now why you see this? Do you think that they don't know, or that they do know but are not giving it the requisite action?
They have theories, but they don't have practical solutions. Somebody will advise him, an officer who sits in the office. For example, the guys who sit in Treasury. When you go there and say, Ministry of Education's budget is 500 billion, The guy with a pen, without even asking why 500 billion, he will just reduce that money maybe to 200 billion. He has not gone out there to find out what is it that this guy wants this kind of money. They just reduce with a pen. No. Sometimes that is where the problem begins. There are people who have got disconnect between what is the real thing and what is in his mind. So he wants to do this, but his mind is telling him something different. So you go there, argue with them before they agree. And even if they agree, reluctantly they set a certain limit. We are giving you this much. I know this will work. So you go back there and start saying, where can we reduce? And people have already budgeted. Maybe they have already even spent that money. Yeah.
Is there a case to be made for spending money in the interim to take care of these problems? I mean, because again, previously we heard that, look, while these plans that you have are unfolding, because look, there are plans,
Yes.
There are plans to get things done. We have heard, well, we'll wait and see the result of those. But is there merit in saying, okay, gather up some shillings here, put money in subsidies so that people can eat today, make things a little bit easier. If you need to then go back to Parliament and say, guys, we need some money to be able to sort out this education problem. I mean, like you said, well, we're going to the end of the first term in school and there's some capitation money that has not been released to schools. The reason being that Treasury is not able to release because there's no money.
Yeah.
So does it make sense to look for a little bit more in the interim, spend a bit of it, in order to release the pressure that there is on the people, send your children to school, put money into some of these places so that we can have a reduced pressurized system as we wait for these other things to come about?
That is correct. There's always a way to find a quick solution, a quick intervention. Then after that, then you look for a long-term solution. Because like now, the cost of food, we know in 3 or 4 months, people will harvest food. There will be food. There will be more food. Then they can go back to the normal. But right now, things are not working because there's no food. There's no people don't have money and on like that. So if the government comes in with short interventions, then they can allow people now. Once food is harvested, and there's food in the market, then the price can go back to the normal and let things work the way they have to work. But sometimes that is not the situation. We create that, and you see right now, people have, if you go to the Rift Valley and western part of Kenya, the farmers have food, a lot of it, and they want to sell. The government is not buying, but the government is talking about importing. So how can you import when you have not known what is the shortfall? If you buy what the farmers have and you say now we are expecting 6 million packs, but we have only managed to get 4, we have now to import 2 million to kuchasa hii ipengo iko hapa. But now, if we have not done that, how do you just go to import? And you are leaving the farmers food to rot in their homes and their stores.
So, Mheshimiwa, what exactly is our problem? Is it food shortage or high food prices? Because food shortage is not really the issue. Food shortage would mean you go to the market and there are no items in the market. You go to shops and there are empty shelves.
What the problem is, we should be real. We should actually solve our problems by dealing with the situation as it is there. Because if you say we have food shortage and you have not gone to the ground and established that there's food shortage, the millers, now you talk about the millers, these big guys who are milling, they buy these things from the government stores. So if the government does not have this food in the stores, these guys will look for alternative and buy, and they will buy from outside. They will not buy even from the local farmers. So some of those things, I believe that in those days in the 70s, in the 80s, we used to have these things called cooperative societies. And the cooperative societies are the ones who used to buy food from the farmers, and then they take it to the market, to the silos. Now, the farmers have to go and sell direct to the silos, and sometimes it's very difficult because a farmer who has just sent 10 packs of maize how will he go and struggle and go and queue at the silos for days and days before they sell?
Yeah.
And you reach there, they will tell you, you pour down all the maize you have brought, because they have to check the moisture contents, they have to check what. So it is very difficult. But those cooperative societies, I think they were a very good idea, and the government maybe should think of reviving those cooperative societies in those local areas. And also, India has got so many people, and India is able to feed themselves. During the reign of Indira Gandhi, she came up with something called agrarian revolution. And that agrarian revolution was now to revolutionize how they can produce enough food to feed their population without looking outside. And they identified areas where they can do that. And those areas, they went and combined small farms into big farms and moved people to something they created called model towns. They live in model towns. The farms are left so that they can do a large-scale farming. And with that, they are able to solve their problem with food. They'll produce enough food. Those people who are moved to model towns, now the government will bring those food now in those something called ration shops, so that they go there and collect their food from there. But those farms which were surrendered to the government, they were paid, and the government compensates them for that. So you find that, I think that was a very good way of doing that for India to solve the problem. And we can still do it even here. Because here, the good thing is that the environment is good. We have abundance of rain. The arable land in Kenya is bigger than, it's enough to produce enough food to feed our population. Yeah.
Let's take a break at 29 minutes to 9. The Honorable Timo Nyonyi, MP for Westlands constituency, is our guest. We're talking about this issue with the high cost of living, especially food items. What next for Kenyans? What are the ideas that our leaders have? That's what we want to hear from him. We call this the Minute Maid break, Mheshimiwa, because we talk about every time in your busy day and you need to take a break. What is it that you do when you're taking a break? And we say, among the other things that you want to do as you're taking a break, have a Minute Maid in your hand. Minute Maid juice in whatever flavors. What flavors are they, Ndu?
Apple, tropical, pulpy orange, mango.
All of them. Just pick one and use it to refresh yourself, because that's what you're going to say.
Fresh.
28 minutes to 9. Yes. We'll be back shortly.
Good.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler? Who's a hustler?
Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
Well.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, so we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 24 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 15 in Nakuru. It's 15 in Nyeri and 14 in Eldoret. 28 and sunny in Mombasa, 28 and sunny in Malindi. Into Kisumu, it's sunny at 21, while Kakamega is sunny at 20, and partly sunny conditions in Kampala at 20, 26 and mostly sunny in Dar es Salaam. It's 13 and sunny in Johannesburg. Obviously mostly clear conditions in Lagos at 26. And at 23, it's partly cloudy in Kinshasa, going to highs of 31 and lows of 23. traffic situation for Wednesday. Heavy still coming off of Thika Superhighway in some parts here and there. A little bit better on James Gishore if we're looking out towards Westlands. The Red Hill Link Road still busy as you're outbound, but it's manageable. We're looking at Landis now that's packed all the way from the roundabout at the City Stadium through to the Kamkunji roundabout. So that continues for now. Juja Road looking a little bit better, as is Jogo Road. Okay, what else seems to be a bit messy? On Kambu Road, a little bit here and there, as well as coming out of Limuru Road. James Gishore is actually still packed. We're looking at that moving slowly over that drift, and looks like it'll be that way for some time. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there as we attempt to keep things moving this morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
Conversation continues at 25 minutes to 9 with the Honourable Tim Onyonyi, MP, Westlands constituency. We're talking about the cost of living in the country. What next for Kenyans? What should we expect? What should we do? And what should we expect from government to facilitate a return to normalcy city?
The constituency that you have been the leader of for now, is it going to beyond 3 decades?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the majority of the people in your constituency are poor?
I'll confidently say that.
Yes. Now, there is a government program that we have read about. It was in the Kibaki government, Uhuru government, where people who are poor or living below the poverty line are given direct cash injection. Some who are elderly are also given direct cash injection. Now, this is a two-tiered question. So let me ask the first one. That money that has been set aside, just talking about helping people who are unable to fend for themselves, have you seen it working in your constituency? Money that's given to these vulnerable groups, have you seen it working? And is it consistent?
Well, the money, I'll say the transfer of that money has been a big issue because they will send once, then they fail to send for the next 3, 4, 5 months. Then they send again. And you remember, they're only sending something like 2,000. And also the way they identified, we were asked, even we participated in identifying these vulnerable people, and we gave out the names. I think the weak link in that system is the system where they're using the chiefs and on that. And along the way, people create a different list, which now is directed to the ministry. Mm. And you find the people who are receiving that money, they don't exist. Many of them don't exist. And if you just go to that village and randomly ask how many people receive this cash transfer from the government, you will hardly find somebody who is receiving that money. A few who have received. I know a few. I can go in the village, I can pinpoint, and I know them. But majority don't receive that money at all. Yeah.
And
that is a skewed way, and we have asked the PS so many times so that they can refine this. And likely, in this current budget that we are making now, we have asked them now to come up with a better system than the one that was there before, because that one was not actually working. It was not working at all.
So at what point is this manipulated? Is it at the point of registration? Who's supposed to do this? These are social workers working for the State Department for Social Protection, isn't it?
The registration part, and then the money, if we follow the flow of that money, Treasury releases the money to the ministry. The ministry releases the money to the next level, to the DCC or something like that. The DCC releases the money to the chiefs. Now that is where the problem starts. The chiefs now are the one who mess up that transfer of the money, because from the chiefs we are saying Why can't, even at the DCC or at the bank, whichever the bank is their specialist, why can't we just have a system of M-Pesa transfer or whatever?
Directly
system
to
they
the
can use
recipient.
direct to that person than calling you to walk. Some of those people cannot even walk. Go to the DCC to go and receive the money.
Why is that system in place? Well, the other one for the elderly, the Inua Jamii, they receive the money directly into their bank accounts.
Or M-Pesa.
To M-Pesa. We are thinking
Or
M-Pesa is a better way, because at least even if he doesn't have an M-Pesa, there's somebody
There's
next
somebody
to
that
him,
they'll nominate and say.
a caregiver or something must be having the number that they can send the money to. And that's, I think, is a better way, is more convenient, and it can, I think, works much better.
Are you able to do a survey in your constituency, for example,
Yes.
and say the people who are deserving of receiving this money who are not receiving? And then you present that and say, for example, in my constituency, these people fall into the category of the people who should be recipients and
Yes.
beneficiaries of this program, and they're not. And then you use that to pose questions directly to the ministry.
I have done that because the people who have come to me, and they show that their names were taken. And all along, they have never received a cent. And we prepared this list and took it to the PS then in the Ministry of Labour. Was Maru, I think. And he said he was going to take up that matter with the people on the ground and solve the problem. Until we went to election, nothing had been done.
He was still taking care of the matter.
He was still solving that problem, I believe. You see, sometimes the government can be very, very, very slow.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just bureaucracy. You go there, somebody who sits, he has files on the desk. He doesn't work on them. He sits on them until last minute, like they wait during the cycle of budget making. These guys wait until June, when they're saying now they are closing that financial year, then they start looking for people. We are paying. How much are we paying? We are paying. And that's how the money starts disappearing, because they find guys who they owe the money, but they have been holding his money for so long. And sometimes, when the government releases the money, you must spend it before the expiry of that. So if you don't spend it, they must find a way. That money either goes back to Treasury or you have to spend it.
The reason I was asking this question, Mheshimiwa, is because when you mentioned India, it sparked a thought in my mind as to how some of the states in India experimented with this, the concept. Now, it's a concept that is referred to in the US as food stamps, meaning instead of perhaps, or in addition to the money that someone gets, you are given, it's like a credit note, something
Yes.
you can go to a certain shop and ensure that you get certain goods. It's better than a promissory note.
Yes.
Do you think that a system of that sort, in addition to the cash, because the cash transfer is necessary, it's important for someone to actually have cash, but it's also important for someone to eat, because some people will get the money and they will not buy food with it. So if it was complemented, these things we talk about, subsidiaries and subsidies and what have you. If a system of that sort was introduced, I'm talking about in its purity, not in the convoluted form these systems of ours take. Do you think, especially if you're talking about an urban center with the number of people who are living below the poverty line, would this assist?
It will be the better system, by the way. If we come up with a system like that and people have given that, what you are calling a credit note, he just comes and shows that thing and he'll be given the ration that he receives from the shop. And there are particular shops which are identified, that are the ones which will now be the one dealing with that kind of thing. Because you can't have everybody there. No. They must identify these shops and they must make sure that these shops have enough supplies to serve these people. And that works very well.
You see, if you look at traditionally, a system like that existed. It just wasn't called what we're calling this one. But for instance, if you had a bumper harvest and you were able to keep it in storage,
yes,
your relatives and people known to you who may not have had a bumper harvest knew they could come to you. And you would give them. And the understanding was that in times of need, if you needed and they had a bumper crop, they could give it to you. So this issue of food security, traditionally, there was a way in which it was sorted out.
Yeah. And it also gives people that dignity.
Yes.
It doesn't it doesn't bring you that demeaning that you actually are beggar. It just creates that system that you go there and you know this is how you are supposed to be served because of ABCD.
Sure.
It just keeps your dignity.
So we're essentially saying that one of the solutions to this thing that we are, it's been here for some time, one of the solutions that we're saying is the institution of a welfare system in Kenya is probably a way of making sure that at any one time the citizens of the country are taken care of. Are we saying that must then be a formal, well, the suggestion is that it could then be a formalized way of handling this, so that in the grand scheme of things, the welfare section of this is prioritized budget-wise, it's prioritized across government. Is a possible solution to this?
Yes, it is a possible solution. And I remember I was talking to a former peers who was in the Kibaki government. And they say there were some people who had come up and created a system of this cash transfer and on like that, that social protection. Mm-hmm. And then another group of people came in without knowing the background of this system and how these people have created this system, how it works. And they went and removed them without, So the system now got cropped up. That these guys who have come in, they have no idea how this thing was working. So you just come up and take off something that you did not create. You don't know the history behind it. So that thing failed. And that's where I think the rain started beating us. The system failed because somebody came in who was thoughtless and they just removed these people. Instead of, that's sometimes how things work. You come in with your own philosophy and you don't want to, sometimes you must have some continuity.
Yeah.
Somebody to help you, even your transit before you do something else. But if without that, you will actually crop in a lot of problems. And that's what we're having in this current government.
Yeah.
They've walked in people who have never worked in the government, who have no experience. They have taken over places and they have no idea now. They're just issuing directives left, right, and center, and nothing is working. For 6 months, they're telling us, give us more time. You do what? We can't wait forever. Yeah? And again, as a government, you cannot work in government, and the only thing you are doing is blaming the former government. A government is a government. When you take over, you solve the problems that were created by your predecessor and move on. Obama worked in an office that was bankrupt, literally bankrupt. He never blamed Bush. We never heard him mentioning Bush all over the place. Kibaki did the same. He walked in, the government was so dilapidated. He never spent time talking about Moi. He went to work. And within time, he had turned things around. So a government must work in the office. It means unless you have no idea why you are in the government, you have in the government, you have to create wealth. That is the system. You have to create wealth for the government to move.
We had the CEO of the Kenya National Trading Corporation sitting exactly where you're sitting a while back, and we were having this discussion about some of the plans that this government has. This is me saying that they're reviving Kenya National Trading Corporation because in my mind it was dead. Now, one of the things that they've done is there are these imports that they've brought in, which we are told are duty-free. But in addition to the imports, the figures vary. They say they are designated or selected 200,000 shops, some say 500,000 shops, where these goods that are being brought in will be available to the Mwananchi at this so-called subsidized rate. Now, in theory, it sounds like the sort of plan that we are talking about. The details of how these shops were selected or how they will be created, that is really not there. I haven't come across those details anywhere. As for the details of the foodstuffs that will be available in these shops and whether these shops will only sell these particular items or others, again, that is also not clear. Now, where am I going with this? I am saying that there is the discussion about the foods that are being brought in and the availability of those very foods in the country. And there is no evidence to show that those foods in the country have been exhausted, meaning we don't have evidence to show that apart from the aid that is required, every foodstuff that was locally available has been exhausted or has been bought up. So now, if it's duty-free and it's brought in, there'll be this competition with what is already locally produced, and that isn't subsidized. So what has been going on in my mind is, how does this help the Mwananchi? Now, those of you who are in parliament, I'm sure you've heard of these issues and you have better details than we do. How are you people handling this matter?
You know, the problem that is there is this. In other countries, for example, they protect the local producers. They protect the farmers. They say, how much do our farmers have? And then they make sure that whatever we are producing here, if the other food that is brought from out, they must be more expensive than the ones that they produce locally. So it gives the consumers or the people time. They understand that I can go and buy the locally produced rice from where or from wherever, the maize, then go and buy the rice from Pakistan. It will be more expensive, even though it may look better, but it will be expensive. So it's a time that the government must have that policy. And this is a serious issue with the ministers who sit in the offices. They must look, the Minister for Agriculture, Minister for Trade, Minister for Finance, if they sit together with their PSS, they must come up with these things. So, but because it's not it doesn't just fall in one ministry, it falls across the board with all these ministries to understand the ration that they are going to apply. The locally produced and the imports, so that they don't make, because if you look at even COMESA, that is what they were saying. If you buy things from within the COMESA region, you must buy what you're just coming to top up what you have. And you cannot make maize from Tanzania or from Malawi to be cheaper than the maize from Kenya. The reason being that maybe their cost of production there is much cheaper than ours. And it comes here, is still cheaper. Sugar produced, for example, as we live on the border, our home is down there at the border with Uganda. The Tusker that is produced in Kenya, it's cheaper. You cross over, you go and drink in Uganda, it's cheaper in Uganda than it is in Kenya.
It's the same with Tanzania.
Yes. So you keep on asking, why? Why is petrol in Uganda cheaper than in Kenya, yet it has been moved from Mombasa all the way to Kampala?
Even as you say things, when you're looking at solutions as to why these things can be cheaper, in the last couple of days, you talked about sources for cheaper power. And if I quote what you said, as a country, we need to liberalize the power sector, invest in cheaper energy alternatives, and stop relying on hydroelectricity, which is very expensive, in order to reduce the cost of electricity in the country. We know that in the next few weeks, we are going to see, I think the number is 64% rise in electricity costs for folks who are paying prepaid, postpaid, whatever it is. We're going to see that rise. But you think that there's a solution to this as well?
What we are looking is actually we want to liberalize that market. Kenya Power has had a monopoly for a long, long time. They're the sole producer, the sole supplier of electricity in this country. For example, if you produced electricity on your own, you can't sell it to me. You have to sell it to Kenya Power to sell it to me. It's ridiculous. Mumias Sugar, before it collapsed, Mumias used to produce 4 megawatts of electricity. They could not sell it to the locals in Mumias and download, because it will be cheaper for this factory. It could even be an SCSR and give it back to the community. We say, you have served us well, we are supplying you with electricity. This Kenya Power had to download that to the national grid, Kenya Power, to sell it to us. KenGen says they are the ones who sell power to Kenya Power. They sell it at, I think they are saying, is it 9 or 20 shillings. Kenya Power will sell to you at 56 shillings. The markup.
The same power.
Same power. The markup. Even if you want to make profit, surely, why can't you just make 10%, something like that, so that you allow somebody to breathe? They are, squeezing air out of you. And they want you, like these people who have factories here. How do you manage to manufacture and put your things on the market competitively when the cost of production is on the roof? So for us to do anything, we have to liberalize the market in the energy and bring in other players, and it will bring the cost down the way we did with the mobile phones. You remember at the beginning when there was just
Kenya Post and Telecommunication.
Kenya Post and Telecommunication, and then we had when this mobile came in, Airtel. That time I don't know, it was called what?
It was still Telcom or something.
No.
Oh, Celtel.
It was called Celtel.
Celtel.
Yes.
No, the
Celtel,
first
Safaricom.
mobile before Safaricom was Telcom.
Yes. The one which is the size of a telephone booth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was damn expensive. For you to, in fact, buying a gadget like this was a status symbol.
Yeah.
You only if you saw somebody with a mobile phone on the street, you have to follow to look at him. How does he look? And I remember when I bought my first mobile, and it was I think prepaid. It was so. When you have put 10,000, when it reaches around 5,000, they start warning you. Please, we don't want to disconnect your phone. But you see how now the market is liberalized.
Yes.
You can call with a shilling.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that who says we can't do the same thing with electricity?
Yes, we can liberalize the market with electricity, and the people can produce. We can produce it through affordable means like solar, wind. If you go to these other countries, they use wind, they use nuclear, they use other means of producing electricity much cheaper. Hydroelectricity is very, very expensive. And even one we are doing in Naivasha is even more expensive. So unless we find a cheap alternative, and they are available to us. We have, you see, those turbines that were set up in Marsabit or where. They're just standing there. We're not using them.
In Loyangalang.
Yes. They're not using them.
They are injecting about 120.
And they can give us cheaper and cleaner energy.
You know, there's an argument that is often preferred against liberalization contextually in a country such as ours. They say it opens now doors for the worst possible things that you can look at. Let's look at the oil sector. We liberalized it. Now, depending on who is in power, does it then not open the door for that very liberalization to be turned around, instead of it being a portal from where competition can actually bring about the good forces of competition, where prices go down because people are competing, to a situation where you have an oligopoly. It's not as though there'll be one person, but there'll be a few people who actually control that whole thing. So, in essence, you will not actually have moved, but liberalization will have given them the opportunity. Look at the structural adjustment programs that the World Bank brought to us in the Moi era. Now, look at what it brought about. We are back again. We are hearing that we want to dispose of certain national assets, which we are told are not profiting. It has World Bank written all over it, the thinking. But look at how it's been approached. First of all, we are here. Cabinet is supposed to be able to make those decisions without what?
Parliament.
Authority. Now, it's an idea and an agenda that is being pushed. So I'm saying liberalization is a good thing. But in a context such as ours, how do you then prevent that nefarious door from being opened so that people take advantage of it to the great disadvantage of those who are supposed to actually benefit from it?
You know, government, when it's going to negotiate for certain things, even for facilities that they want to use, you must send your best negotiators who can go and bargain for the country. But if you go there and these guys who are forced to just collect solutions and come with them, you must go there when they tell you that you do this, you say that cannot work in our country. It will not work. Even if we say yes, it will not work. It will fail. And you bargain and put the alternative on the table. And you'll find a solution for that. Some countries have managed to do that. And it has worked for them. But sometimes we send there and people who just look like beggars, who have gone there and they're just already carrying the pole. Whatever you give us we shall be happy. That won't help for us. We want to see you send the best of the best look at which peers, which cabinet, and let me tell you, at this level, the technocrats are the people who are supposed to go and negotiate, not the politicians. Because the politician, you can be the head of that institution, but you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the know-how about how the institution works. These technocrats are the ones who are supposed to go there and negotiate for those things. So unless we do that, we'll always get it short. And I tell you, there's something called political culture. Every country is unique in its own way. Democracy in America cannot be the democracy in Kenya the same. It will not be the one in South Africa
or India
or wherever. What happens in India is their democracy, whatever they call it. And what happens here
should
is
be our democracy.
Our democracy.
Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us today. The Honorable Tim Wanyonyi is the MP for Westlands constituency. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. A very good morning to you, 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Westlands MP Tim Wanyonyi says the government needs to focus on addressing the high cost of living. In an interview with SpiceFM, it says that the cost of living is high and that even services that ought to be free of charge are no longer free, which in turn is making life for ordinary Kenyans an expensive affair.
Sometimes you have to look at what is most urgent thing to be done. For example, somebody who comes, children have not gone to school, but the worst thing is that they have not fed for a day or so. So even if you enable them to go to school, these people are hungry. They need to eat. And without food, that child, even if he goes to school, it's a useless thing because he will not concentrate, he will not learn. And so we have to start with the basics. These people need food, bottom line. And then you can sort out the other things. Once you sort out the stomach issues, at least the rest can sort themselves out. And we have always said, the government, don't try to do everything at the same time. Do the basics. Let the people do the rest. Because if people are able to have food, if people are able to go for have health check without any issues, and people have security, the rest of the things, they'll sort themselves out.
It says that the cabinet secretaries who have been given the mandate of serving Kenyans have no touch with what is happening on ground, and neither do they follow up to understand what needs to be addressed in their various dockets. Now, Nairobi Senator and ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna says that demonstrations led by Azimio and not funded by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, as alleged by a section of Kenya Kwanza leaders. He told SpiceFM that Azimio does not need to be funded because Kenyans themselves are tired with how things are being run, further insisting that they are using the resources they have been using during the campaign period.
What is this finance for? Because as the senator of Nairobi, personally, I have not seen this money, and I don't need the money. If you look at the equipment that we are using, the vehicles we are driving, they are the same ones we were using in the campaign. The sound system that we have is the same one that Baba was using in the campaigns. So all you need to do, like last time on Monday, we drive out of Chungwa House, which is just next to Kawangware. We go into Kawangware. Even the people themselves were surprised to see us there. We didn't tell them we were coming. So if you have not told the people you are coming, how have you given them money? What is the money for?
He added that the party constitution has mechanisms that helps it fund its operations, and in fact the Political Parties Act provides that the state gives funds to the political parties, which has remained elusive.
Political parties and political movements also get financing from their membership and patrons. As a member of the Azimio coalition, it is known publicly that part of my salary is deducted to support activities of the political party. And I will tell you why. There is a Political Parties Act in this country, a law that is supposed to provide financing for political parties. And it provides that 0.3% of the last audited accounts is supposed to be set aside for political party activities. And up to today, no government has ever complied with that particular provision of the law. In fact, as we speak right now, ODM's debt, the money you owe us as the public, is now at 10 billion Kenya shillings. 10 billion shillings.
Now, over 920 applicants have shown interest to fill the post of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission chairperson and the 6 commissioners' post. The poll agency, selection panel chaired by Nelson Makanda, had set March 28th as the deadline for applicants to send their applications for consideration. Out of the 920 applicants, 25 individuals showed intent to fill the post of chairperson, while 895 are battling for the commissioner's slot. The IEBC, reconstituting the panel, maintained they will conduct the exercise of filling up the vacant commission despite the clamour by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition for the exercise to be halted. Makanda pointed out that the many applications by Kenyans were a clear sign that they trust the ongoing process to reconstitute the poll body. And with an international criminal court arrest warrant out for Vladimir Putin, South Africa is weighing what to do if the Russian president accepts an earlier invitation to attend the August summit in the country. South Africa is a signatory to the ICC's Rome Statute that obligates countries to execute courts' international arrest warrants. But Pretoria is also a close ally with Moscow and has refrained from criticizing Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, going as far as holding bilateral talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov earlier this year and hosting Russian warships in February for joint military exercises. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Alseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A few minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're looking at some traffic coming off still the Thika Superhighway. And look at Landis Road. It's also very busy getting towards Kamkunji at the roundabout into the CBDs where most of it is happening. Okay, there's something terribly wrong on Kiambu Road today. Thicker than normal, that traffic. Not quite sure what must have caused that, but we'll keep an eye on it. Do you know? Tell us, please. A bit of a sprinkle in some parts of the city, so that's going to slow things down a little bit. But apart from that, we should be getting out of traffic hour soon enough. Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9. Good morning and welcome to the final hour of the show this morning, Wednesday 29th. How you doing? We have 2 guests who are joining us now in the studio, and we want to talk about the price of what we are seeing on the streets. We saw this happening on Monday. We've been talking about the aftermath of that. We're expecting more protests and demonstrations on the streets in the country tomorrow, Thursday. They said it's going to happen twice. Now, on Monday night, there was this whole issue of places of worship being attacked. The mosque in Kibra, the Alaska Mosque, Al-Aqsa, and the PCA church as well in Kibra. And we saw leaders going there yesterday to visit the area and to find out what the issue is and to appeal for calm. Religious leaders, the NCIC, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Civil Society, Amnesty International are there. Now, 2 of them are in the studio. The Executive Director of Amnesty International Kenya, Irongo Houghton, and Commissioner Dr. Danvas Makori from NCIC. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You know, I was trying to think, what do you say, and how do you say NCIC in Kiswahili?
The acronym. The whole name. Let me see who's good in Swahili. Then I'll say it. Who, you're going to try it? Give it a try. I'm probably the worst person. There are
No,
enough
I think that
Kiswahili
would be after
lecturers.
me.
Oh, after you, huh?
I'll be-
And City.
Sitting to Mombasa.
How exactly was I brought into this conversation?
So can you say NCIC?
There's a whole
Kiswahili?
commission of NCIC before us here who can define it better than I can. There's a whole chairman director of Amnesty International
Not chairman.
next to me, and then he asked me to define things which they can define better than I.
Define.
It is out of respect.
Translate.
Elders.
And,
we respect you.
And this respect thing and elder thing, throw it out of the window.
Wow.
Forget about it.
You
Forget
have to
it.
bear with CT.
So what is it? Tume ya mawiano.
Tume ya uwiano na utangamano la kitaifa.
Ndio hiyo.
See?
What?
Told you.
Tume
Ya
uwiano na
uwiano.
utangamano la kitaifa.
Tangamano is cohesion.
Yes.
It's integration. Uwiano is cohesion.
Uwiano. Uwiano Tangamano.
Utangamano is integration.
Ah, voila.
Yes.
Okay. What? Don't ask me to say that tomorrow.
Tume ya uwiano na mangandangano na kitaifa.
Tangawizi.
I mean, on this note, I guess Amnesty International would be Musamaha.
Amnesty.
I don't know if that works. But
No, that does not work.
Let's move to Spice to have a bit more spice. What would Spice FM be in Kiswahili?
Usamaha,
Oh, wow.
msamaha wa dunia Kenya.
Yeah, okay. Dunia Kenya.
Amnesty is not kusamehe in Swahili.
To forgive.
No. Forgive is kusamehe, yes, not amnesty.
Well, it actually, the history of Amnesty really, it built around this idea that it's actually a very conservative history originally. The idea was that people would write to dictators and essentially ask them to pardon political prisoners, people who had expressed themselves but were actually being arrested for sedition. So it does come from the concept of forgiveness. But of course now we are much more in a justice accountability framework. I'm still interested in Spice FM. What would that be?
Eric wanted to say pili pili.
At this point, your brand managers are going haywire. So let's stop before we both get closed down.
I know.
How long it took to design and market Spice FM, and now may destroy in about 2 minutes. Pili FM.
So let's
Actually,
move on.
He is not wrong. With Amnesty, the closest you get to is Msamaha. He is not wrong.
Okay, to pardon.
So msamaha wa dunia Kenya.
Yeah.
Well.
And my brand managers are calling me right now. Irungu, stop that.
And executive director is
mkurugenzi.
Bas. Mtendaji.
Mtendaji.
Sawa.
Yeah.
City. Proverb from DRC.
Yes.
In Kilingala.
This. Well, I think so. Let me entertain Eric's thought. Our problems for the whole of this week come from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay, in French, it's known as République Démocratique du Congo. In Kituba, it's a language. It's Republica ya Congo yo Demokalas. In Lingala, this is what Eric wanted to hear. Republiki Congo Demokratiki. Okay, now Kiswahili. Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Congo. Now, the proverb for today in English, even without drum beat, banana leaves dance. Even without drum beat, banana leaves dance.
And based on that proverb, TikTok was formed.
So they dance without a drum beat.
Used to be a dance app. Now it is. Sometimes it has more dances.
Okay. Gentlemen, yesterday you were among the people who went to Kibra after a night of violence that saw, all these attacks into. Let's just be clear. It's not just the places of worship, but also people's businesses and some homes that got caught up in this melee. What exactly happened? What did you see and hear when you went there? Let's start with you, Irongo.
So I have to say that, in the 20 years or so that I've done work on, whether we used to call it ethnic cleansing or in the 1990s or the violence and demand for the constitutions or the second liberation or even more recently forced evictions and so on, it never normalizes for me. right? Just to watch people who have so little have all of that destroyed in an instant. So tens of kiosks, if people are familiar with Karanja and Kibra, tens of kiosks were destroyed. Homes were destroyed. And of course, there's been a lot of emphasis on the places of worship. But I think, people need to get the distance between those two buildings. And places of worship are not buildings. They are places for people to worship. But the distance between those two is literally a stream. It's not even a river. We crossed back and forth that river, and to have this sense that people would move from, would move from one church to the mosque and back and attempt to destroy both, is just really sad. It's the headlines today, I think, in the Standard speak about anarchy. But if there was anarchy, it was Kibra. And I think the warning signal is there for the assembly organizers and Azimio and the Mass Democratic, the movement that is now beginning to develop around Mandamano. But it is also there for the National Police Service. And in particular, I think it is there for the politicians.
Look, based on what you're saying, and even for you, Danvers, the thing is that the destruction that we saw, can we attribute it entirely to the activities that took place on Monday? Because then for you to then go and destroy places of worship, is it something that was latent in the minds of people? Was there a previously brewing, simmering situation that perhaps we need to be more concerned about, that then these protests on Monday then gave way for this thing that was brewing to then live out? And should that not be a cause for concern as well? Because had the protest not happened, maybe it was just a matter of time then before we saw this other kind of...
Actually, what happened actually is very complex, so I cannot really answer you. Because the protests occurred even last month and nothing happened like that in Kibra. I'm going to give you the actual facts in the evening, but also there's a background to why what happened is significant. Okay. As Irungu has intimated, and what people don't understand also, we were on the ground, and our investigators and our teams and our contacts and observers, and you guys also understand very well, in conflict or in war, the first victim is truth. Okay? Truth is the first victim. And propaganda takes precedence, and rumors start flowing. Now, even, of course, there's also the fog of war, so information not very clear to an extent, which is given. So even as it happened, actually, in the evening, as it happened, and we got reports, actually, I was in another studio, and then the church got, but I was still in another studio, and when there's nothing as bad as or in a place like this, you're getting security updates, and sometimes you don't even concentrate now, because you can see it's really bad. And I even texted the host. I said, you know what, I think, don't ask me a question. You need to pause a minute, going to respond to something that it's really disturbing. When we went to the ground and got the facts, and let me just summarize by this. A group of organized, I won't even call them goons. These were criminals. These were also a militia from outside Kibra, who were paid, who were well armed, went on a rampage for hours. They attacked the residents of Kibra, of both faiths, okay, of both factions, whether you are pro-demonstration or against demonstration, okay, and they had a single criminal intent to plunder and to cause as much damage as possible and to incite ethnic and religious tensions, okay. That was the intention. Do you know, and do the group, you see what that, so the mosque wasn't really burnt per se. The shops next to it were set ablaze because they border each other in the intent to set it, of course, ablaze, and the madrasas are next to it. The same group that did that is the same group that actually went and touched the church. It wasn't a retaliatory attack. It wasn't the Christians attacking who burnt the mosque. It wasn't the Muslims who retaliated to burn the church. No, that's what it seemed. That was the narrative in news, but that's what somebody wanted us to believe and to cause that to flare up. But we've so established it is the same actual group that attacked both places. Wow. Now that is dangerous. That's how we just begin that. Yeah,
is external to Kibra.
Yeah, it's external. Actually, they were external. Nobody knows them. Nobody's ever seen them because these guys know each other. If you lived, it's really. I grew up in the hood, in the slums. You pretty much know everyone. You understand?
Sure.
Even a kilometer away, you know people. The whole people know each other there.
Yeah.
So if Irungu shows up, like I don't know him. So when a group of 100, 200 people, 10 people show up, of course you know these are not residents of here. How they talk, just even they know each other, but even how they do that. And they went on a rampage. It was unmitigated, unrestricted rampage of destruction, pillage, and horror. Okay, that we haven't witnessed in a while, and it wasn't for the resilience of the community, the leaders, the youth leaders, who even at night, I even didn't sleep that whole night because we constant phone telling, guys, you know to chill down, you don't react, don't respond until we get to the bottom line, because nobody knew what was happening. It looked like it was bad. It looked like this group is attacking this group, and it was really bad. Now there's a history to that. That's what's giving that. There's a brief history, and we wouldn't have time to go through it. But in 1996, there was these two communities and these two groups really fought each other really bad in Kibra. And in 2001, it repeated itself again. And somebody had the intention, the design to inflame, to incite, to exploit that. And as basically somebody poured fuel there and threw a match there. So that Kibra can explode, Nairobi can explode, the whole country can explode. That isn't beyond anarchy. That is pure evil. You understand? That is, anarchy is where things are just spontaneous. Things are just bad. No, somebody actually planned that.
So there was a fault line here that's been in existence since the 90s.
Yes.
Had never been resolved.
Yes.
What is the issue?
Okay, we have a time, but so this the ethnic groups, especially the Nubians, seem to, from their perspective, they're the original inhabitants of that place, and they own the title. They usually say that. Everybody else just came in and took. Now the majority ethnic groups, the Luos, came much more, and they were way more than anybody else. Luyas and Kisis, and the Nubians tend to be majority Muslim. Of course, these other ethnic groups are not. So by nature, there's that aspect. And in the 90s, sometimes in this conflict, you don't know who started what. But the reality is there was a brutal slaughter. People were being slaughtered like cattle in Kibra and in 2000. Churches, most actually, were set ablaze, just like what we saw the other day. So somebody was trying to take us back there. And that is very disturbing. Just think about it. Somebody had the intention, because these guys, we've been to Kibra. I've spent so much time in Kibra. I know those leaders there. They had no intention of that. Was not in their mind. I promise you, City, that was not in their mind. Of course, there's one ethnic group that is not pro demonstration, and they made it very clear. The one in the side, which is their right to, and there's one which is for demonstration, which is their right to. But in terms of them hating each other and killing each other and trying to ban each other, that was not even close. It has never even crossed their mind. So somebody wanted that to happen. And I'm glad, of course, in the morning, the RCK stepped in. They called us, of course, because we work really close with them, called Amnesty, because the civil societies. So, because there's a lot of civil society presence in Kibra that is vested in the community. We've built resilience over time, because we know the history of our country, especially in 07, where it all started. So over time, especially, that's why to us is concerning. We spent a lot of time in Kibra before the election to build that resilience, so that even in case there is incitement, which you saw, that it doesn't explode and go beyond that. Yeah, so the violence that was not so much the residents between themselves. Of course, now the tension is still there. The bitterness has been re-evoked again. The anger is still palpable and raw. But we hope and pray. I'm going back to today afternoon. I'm going to spend a lot of time with the leaders there, the imams, the qadis, the sheikhs, and the youth leaders, really just so we can bring a semblance of healing and reconciliation if possible. But at least to come down, because tomorrow is still Thursday.
More demonstration.
The demonstration. And that fracture, that fissure is still open, that the wound is still open. Who can confirm that? So we really try just to maintain some unity.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Nation on page 6, where there's a story of Kibra Sunis had battled protesters all day, residents claim.
Yeah.
Giving credence to what you're saying. But there's a quote here. They would often hide behind police vehicles as they fought with another group that was taking part in the anti-government protests.
Yeah.
The mention of the police.
Yeah.
There are instances where it is even being stated that they were walking alongside police and they were armed with machetes. Is this just people making up stories, or is this something that actually happened?
It happened. In fact, it happened. And EPOA, they'll do the investigation. I was one of the commissioners yesterday night. We talked extensively concerning this because now it's within their realm. And it will come it happened. And we have various reports. We verify, we have monitors, they have monitors too. And it happened. That's factual, actually, it happened. Sad to say, but it happened.
You see, where it takes me back to is not even 96. It takes me back to 92. When we first had reports of what we were then calling tribal clashes. And it was the narrative was that communities that had lived together for decades as neighbors were suddenly turning on each other. And the investigations in that time, what came out was these so-called neighbors from both sides of the divide, the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu, they'd argue and say, but we were also attacked. So one community was attacked, then the other was attacked. And ostensibly, the understanding was that they would assume that they were attacking each other. And yet, both were being attacked. And the reports coming from those incidences was that none of them knew the attackers. They're saying there were people who they didn't know. So, as I'm saying, 1997, we had a similar situation. And the stories were exactly the same.
You know that analogy of and you've had it so well, and this is perfect now that you said it. And I even used that in Kibra when I was there. The analogy of somebody put black ants and red ants in a jar, and they're really fine. And then when you shake that jar, they at each other and start killing
attack each other.
That's exactly what happened, because the red ants and black ants in Kibra have the same thing in 92. We have always lived each other peacefully until somebody shook the jar on Monday, intentionally, to cause trouble. Somebody shook the jar. So now is when they realize, okay, you did attack us, and the other guy, we didn't attack you guys. So somebody actually attacked all of us in the pretext so that we can now attack each other.
Sure.
That is evil.
Irongo, even as you think about this, because I think there are very many lines here that are being drawn and they're somehow crisscrossing. There's the whole issue of then being able to demonstrate, being able to protest, which the chatter is, across many circles, that you should be able to protest. It doesn't matter what it is. You should then also be able to enjoy security of state when it comes to protest. But then this is all being mixed with, and the truth of the matter is that the crimes that are being committed by very few people, but the majority of the people who protest with a cause. How can we explain that you should be able to do that? Because unfortunately now, anybody who protests is being colored with the crayon of criminality.
No, I think you're perfectly right. I mean, I think the lesson of March the 20th, and just to mention that, we saw protests taking place across 4 African countries at the same time as Kenya. The lessons from March the 20th were essentially that, a unconstitutional ban on the right to assemble inevitably leads to violence, right? It also reduces the level of trust between assembly organizers and the National Police Service. The Kenya National Commission about 3-4 years ago developed very extensive guidelines on how to organize protests and picketing. And, as Amnesty International, we have organized tens of these. And what we've learned is that, where you have goodwill from the police commanders, where you have an agreement on route and location, where you have, marshals that essentially make sure that the protest remains, non-violent. And just to mention, Article 37 is not absolute. It is limited by the words non-violent, peaceful protest. So if you manage all those conditions, it is possible for the protest to take place. And just the example of that is really what happened over 2022. How many rallies did we have, with the exception of the Kennel Cobble disaster, where we lost 2 people? How many rallies did we have across the country that did not lead to this level of mayhem and violence? So I think that's the first thing. The second thing really is that, we have to now, and it's really important, I think what Commissioner Danva is saying, is we have to now recognize that in this confusion that has been created around the the denial of the right to protest, third force elements. I mean, it's not just shaking the jar. I actually like your analogy. I think there are green ants that are deliberately being put in the jar to bite both sides and then watch the chaos. But the problem is, and CT I think raised it very well, is if you have a national police service that is selective in the areas that it's policing, in the proportional use of force that it's using with certain groups. So, for example, if it takes 24 hours for the National Police Service to go to the Northlands and essentially, walk around after everything has finished, we need to ask the question, not just in terms of Northlands and Spectre, but we need to ask the question in terms of where they were in Kibra, because they were there during the day, but at the heat of the violence, they suddenly disappeared from the scene. Right, so communities were left essentially. What if I follow the analysis that you've just given us, communities were essentially deliberately provoked to fight each other, and then the police withdrew. Now, my question is: are we not at a stage where we need to ask for a change in policing strategy? Is the Inspector General responsible? And the part of the challenge of declaring to the nation that I am responsible for the policing of the protests is that you also have to take the responsibility when it leads to loss of life and it leads to property destruction and so on. So I think, it is interesting that we've not heard from the Cabinet Secretary of Interior recently. But my concern is, surely we now need to ask the question, is the country in safe hands or in a safe strategy with the current leadership at Vigilance House and Jogo House? So I think that's the second level. The third one is simply a question around community organizing, because I think ultimately what we saw in the 1990s was that the ethnic clashes or the state instigated clashes were actually brought to a halt partly by community organizers at local level, religious leaders. I remember the Father Kamau, Rose Bamasai, all those people that went into the communities and told them, listen, you are being played. And tomorrow, the same thing will happen again, because this is a script that has been developed over the last 20 years. So therefore, what we need to see tomorrow is really community leaders coming out and telling the communities, be careful. We don't have a framework yet for peaceful assembly, but we need to be able to make sure that we can distinguish between protesters, looters, and third-party bystanders. Well, actually, let me do. There are four. Third-party infiltrators, and the fourth one is just raia, civilians going about their business, opening their kiosks, taking their children to school, going to work. That is what we need to do. But unfortunately, with the current policing strategy, does not allow for that. So I think the turning point really has to be at the level of the National Police Service. And then, of course, we need to remember, it is not a policing problem. It is actually a political problem. So the dialogue needs to happen at higher levels. And given the hardening of the positions that are being taken publicly, I'm not sure whether there is enough leadership yet to bring the political temperatures down for dialogue to take place.
Let's take a break. 29 to 10. Ndu. So the gentlemen some Minute Maid.
Minute Maid, I think, is definitely needed. Maybe the country needs a Minute Maid moment, right? Of all the flavors that Minute Maid has to offer. And so Minute Maid says, you know what? It comes to a point during the day when you need to take an moment. Sample from different flavors and give yourself an opportunity. Pressure down, thoughts up about, and then get back into it.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it? Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon.
Don't live life on repeat. Enjoy your break moments with Minute Maid Delight. A treat that awakens your senses and fills you with vitality. So fill those break moments with the indulgent sensations of Minute Maid, featuring delicious mango, tropical and apple flavors. Minute Maid, filled with life.
London Mulwa DJ Absolute. When the gang is together,
got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here.
Sun is peeking through those clouds in Nairobi at 18, and we'll see highs of 25 in Nakuru. It's mostly sunny at 18 in Nyeri and sunny at 18 in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa and 32 as well in Malindi. It's sunny through Kisumu, going to highs of 28, and sunny in Kakamega, going to highs of 29. 22 and mostly cloudy in Kampala, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam. It's mostly sunny at 15 in Johannesburg, at highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 33 in a sunny Lagos. Kinshasa is cloudy at 23, highs of 31. Out in Beijing, where you'll be traveling to or coming from, highs of 25 today and cloudy at 9 in Paris. Going to highs of 15 in London, 6 degrees and clear in New York. Still Tuesday night coming into Wednesday, highs of 10 and lows of 1. Huru Highway looks pretty busy right after the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, going out towards the CBD. That's tight, quite some. We're also looking at traffic coming in from Gong Road. Haile Selassie coming in from Landis at the Kamkunji roundabout, also pretty busy, and they all meet right in the CBD. Much better coming off Thika Superhighway. Still Pangani into that Muthaiga Junction, very busy, as well as Kiamburu. Doesn't look like it's letting up just yet. Apart from that, traffic hours coming to a halt. We'll keep an eye on things through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
Business News with SpiceFM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has invited German businessmen to invest in Kenya's micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. He said Kenya stands to benefit from the world's most experienced, organized and resourced German establishments. Ruto noted that the sector is the backbone of the German economy, generating more than 60% of employment opportunities. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has appointed Mahmoud Abdi Mohammed as the new chairman of the Kenya Railways Corporation. Mohammed will now serve as the chairperson of the KRC Board of Directors. He takes over from Pastor Awita, who was appointed to the position in 2020. The new chair will serve in that capacity for a period of 3 years. The Central Bank of Kenya has approved 10 more digital credit providers, pushing the total number of registered entities to 32. They include Enjoy Credit Limited, Asante FS East Africa Limited, and Colcos Enterprise Limited. Others include Edomix Limited, Extended Money Service Limited, Fourth Generation Capital Limited, and Jumo Kenya Limited, among others. Kemri Wellcome Trust Research Program is looking for an assistant research officer with a bachelor's degree in biological sciences with at least 1 year of experience in biomedical research. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 5th of April 2023. Visit jobs.digga.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digga Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
An Integration Commission, tume ya uwiano na tangawizi and Irungo Houghton, the Executive Director of Amnesty International Kenya, talking about what we need to see to get peaceful conversations taking place. Irungo, you've just concluded here by saying the police have got a role to play. Are you expressly saying that the police should let people demonstrate if they want to demonstrate? And what? Don't turn up.
So I think the Constitution is very clear on this matter. Article 37(1) says everybody has the constitutional right to protest, picket, and demonstrate. That is not an option. It's not an optional protocol for either the National Police Service or the National Administration or even the administration. It is a constitutional right. So therefore, it is, in my sense, it's non-debatable. What is debatable is the manner in which the assembly will be, conducted. And I think the first thing you do in a situation like this is you develop a level of public trust between the independent office, which is the National Police Service, and the assembly organizers. And unfortunately, that threshold is not there. And therefore, what you have is cat and mouse games. You do not have the level, the principle usually for organizers is the no surprises principle. And I learned this the painful way. When Carlton Minor, the Kibran lead student, was killed, the community were furious. They were very angry at the police officers, and they demanded that they be able to spontaneously demonstrate. They wanted to leave Kibra, go straight to Uhuru Park and hold a rally, and then proceed to the Jogoo house at the National Police Service. And I remonstrated them. I said, listen, notification is very important. But they were too angry. They got to the streets. There were about 300-400 youth that were on the streets. I called the OCS of Kilimani, and I said to him, listen, these people they're on the streets now, but they are non-violent. Please do not disrupt them. Agreement was reached very quickly for them to be escorted. There were plainclothes officers and officers who escorted them all the way to that roundabout at Nyayo Stadium, Nyayo House. And then suddenly a vehicle showed up, and people tipped out of it, plainclothes police officers, and started throwing tear gas. The youth basically responded with stones, and then suddenly we started to see even the trees, those lovely palm trees that used to be on Uhuru Highway being burnt. And I remember calling back the police leadership, and I said, listen, what happened? And they said, well, listen, we have jurisdictions. We manage a particular area, and then at the point that our jurisdiction ends, another jurisdiction happened. And what happened was there was not enough time given by the assembly organizers to transfer the responsibility to another jurisdiction. So they were okay up until they got to that junction, to that roundabout. Now, that level of detail really struck me as important. So we don't have to seek permission from the police, and I think this is why what the Inspector General is doing is so counterproductive. You don't have to get permission, but the reason you give a notification is to allow for the security agencies to prepare themselves, and I think it's a legitimate thing. I think even for assembly organizers, you don't want a situation where you have 500 people, 10 marshals, and then there are a group of people who are basically looking at this as an opportunity to grab smartphones, or to destroy windows. So there is a relationship between the law enforcement agencies and assembly organizers. But in this current context, that relationship can't be built unless there is a stepping down from the position that is currently there. And I think the other thing we have is we have great institutions in this country. We have the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. We have the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. We have the NCIC. Those are independent offices that could very easily monitor behavior of protesters and the police. And it would make policing much easier. I just, as I watch the situation, I just feel that, Einstein, if he came back to life, he would just tell, listen, people, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is complete madness. With respect to people who are struggling with mental health and well-being.
And all of this. Yeah. Nairobi Senator said today, well, you know what? We're not even going to tell you now, moving forward, when we're going to have these protests, where we're going to have them, because of this thing. We come in peace. You disrupt the whole thing. So now the whole kit and caboodle, giving you information beforehand, telling you where we're going to go. We're not even going to tell Kenyans about this. We're not even going to do the due diligence of informing you. So the things that you're saying that would grant this supposed protection, let's say that, the police service had an epiphany and said, all right, we're going to do the things as we would normally according to the Constitution. Now, because of what they've seen the last 2 weeks, they've said, okay, fine. We're not even going to tell you then. We're just going to show up and do it. You wouldn't know if it's Tuesday or Thursday. You wouldn't know if it's Monday or Wednesday.
Even tell you the days, huh?
No. So now that's where we are, Danvers.
Well, two wrongs don't make a right. It doesn't. That's an extreme reaction, which is also a wrong reaction. They need to be responsible citizens. Okay, and actually by law, the best way should have done, and I like the example, and this is actually exactly why the law is written this way, because exactly the example Irungo was given. You see, by law, you ought to Public Order Act, you're supposed to give notice to the OCS, not the Inspector General of Police. That's not even his business.
To the local OCS. Area police.
It's very important, because if anything, the example he's given gives the example why you should give to the OCS notice, and every place you go to, because this you tell OCS Kilimani, in this case it's Nairobi Central, Kamukunji, all these places you tell, okay, this is happening, because then the state of Nairobi is saying that is actually being also irresponsible, and being a leader in the country, also that is also being insightful too. So just because one party did wrong doesn't mean also you do wrong. You're not helping the country. Do your part. You know. If I was them, what I would have done is follow the due process. Okay, give notice to OCS. Then when they do what happened on Monday, then you can hold them accountable. You can legally hold them accountable, because now it's hard to hold from in a large scale perspective with the police accountable, because you didn't actually follow the due process in terms of giving notice. Of course you went and gave the AG, you told the AG we're demonstrating, but that's not the law. It's not the AG's jurisdiction. It's actually the OCS's jurisdiction that actually you give notice to. So now it's really hard, because the police can say, well, you didn't give us notice, which is true, that you didn't give us notice. You understand? So you don't give a reason for them to do what they did on Monday. So the Senate actually is that hardline position actually is what is taking our country to the doldrums. Because be the mature person, do the right thing, take the high road. It doesn't cost you anything to walk to Central Police Station, Kilimani Police Station, Kamukunji Police Station, any other, and just say, okay, but the OCS, it's not permission you're seeking to demonstrate, we're going this, we're going this. Let them do what they do. Now we can hold them accountable. Now we can say, they follow due process, and it's a constitutional right. They didn't seek permission. Now you've done on 3. Now, on the other thing, I can actually confirm, IPOA has been following this closely, because it's a sister commission, and this is really the jurisdiction and their mandate, police conduct or misconduct for that matter, and I can tell you, given the track record, and I would really hope they can continue track record of being independent. People, heads will roll, and people will be held accountable. You see, the POA's mantra is very simple. You following orders, or let me rephrase it now. They put it, following illegal orders is not grounds for your defense as a police officer, whether you're a commander, whether you're a police officer. And I feel for our young men and women who are policing on Monday. Sometimes we vilify them, like say police, wholesome. And I feel for them, because I work closely with them. And I can tell you, they are human beings who are really struggling with this issue too. I can tell you that. They're out there. If you carefully, did you see that picture of these 2 police officers getting water from Now that actually captures exactly what they go through, not just in Nairobi, across the country, whereby they're put in situations
that they are not immune to their own tear gas.
Not even that, but okay, not even that. But the put in situations,
their eyes are not any different from
they're not properly facilitated. Eric, if you have a gas mask, you will not sticky water. You understand? If you have a helmet, if you have bulletproof vest, or if you're equipped well, can you imagine City being out there for minimum is 12 hours? Some of them were actually out there for 18 hours without food and water, and without an allowance. And you're subjected to this violence, and now the country is blaming you
and taunting.
And taunting. You know, so even you as a human being. So we have to also to be fair for them, and they're going through a lot. So I'm giving this both sides so that people can understand the complexities of these issues. So that now the hard line from the senator of Nairobi and any from Azimio should really go that way. And this hard line of what my good friend Irungo said, saying blanket no is not even helpful. Actually, that you're seeking basically, because in this example, these people are very peaceful. From Kibra, they marched to the Ngongoro, I don't know which way they used, until they got there. And then when tear gas came out, now zones free. So you know what's going to happen. So going forward, tomorrow is Thursday. The best way is let there be peaceful demonstration, policed. That's their right. So with proper security. And last but not least, I'm going to set an example, and this can be controversial. Remember what happened in 2017. And any rational Kenyan can agree the swearing in was illegal, of course.
2017.
Swearing in. The swearing in of
2008 or
no swearing in of
Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yes, self-swearing in
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The people's president.
Okay. Remember that incident?
Yeah.
And later, of course, we'll preview to the discussions behind the scenes in terms of security and the deployment. The police, there are people who are saying, "No, do not allow these guys." Of course, we all know it is illegal. It shouldn't happen. And somebody wanted the military to be deployed, but somebody in the wisdom that morning pulled the police out of the streets. What happened? The Prime Minister came, sworn himself in, and everybody went home. And it was peaceful. Nothing happened. Do you remember? There was no violence. And okay. So he did it. So what? Nothing happened. You understand? And there were hundreds of thousands of people at Uhuru Park.
It was a massive crowd.
It was a massive crowd. Not even a single stone was cast. Nothing was damaged. You understand? Because they let them, you do your thing and go home. Now, I would do the same thing. Let these guys come. They'll go to Jakarta. Let them do their thing and go home. Trust me, if we take that route, nobody's gonna, because they have been going around the country doing their rallies. Nobody has bothered them. They have been peaceful. You understand? Until somebody said no, we can't allow it. Now there's confrontation. So it's not helpful also to our country when those hardline stands are taken. So both parties need to understand. Let's follow the due process. And sometimes wisdom, that wisdom of 2017 saved the country from a bloodbath. That was gonna be carnage. There will be a bloodbath that day because people came in the hundreds of thousands. And there were people from was saying, well, let's deploy the military because that is just illegal. That is actually treasonous. Okay? But somebody said, you know what? Let's pull back. And they did their thing and they went home and no harm done. You understand? So that's the reality of the history of our country too.
Look, Commissioner, what I find disturbing is that we are having a 20th century conversation, a multi-party era conversation in a multi-party era.
True.
We are talking about things that happened in a one-party system where the president, not presidency, could decide exactly what they were going to do, and the conversation sounds to me exactly the same.
So given that I wasn't born in the 1990s, I can't corroborate that argument by City Muga, but I think he's making an important point. He's making an important point. I mean, I think we are making unreasonable requests of our police officers, to be honest. Yeah. And I think it's not just the potential harm that they face, but it's also the futility of what is happening. I mean, just to give you an example, the first set of protesters were processed through the Kiambu court this week. So Calvin's Okoth, Nuru Maloba, and Charles Ooko were arrested by the police for being part of the demonstrations. I think on March the 20th. They were arrested on the 24th, and they were then held in custody. And the DCI tried to detain them for 10 days. They got legal representation. They have just been released in a very scathing commentary by the judge that simply says, investigations have to precede arrest and prosecution. You cannot arrest
and then investigate.
Then look for information to put people on their defense. So I think what we're going to see really is another level of futility where protesters are taken to court and the law does not substantiate their arrest or their prosecution. And then the question we need to ask ourselves is, we have people in hospital, we have people burying people as we speak. We have communities trying to rebuild their neighborhoods and their businesses. We have protesters essentially being rushed through court and it's collapsing. In whose interest is this? Like, what is the greater interest that that the authorities are essentially implementing? And is it not just much easier to start the conversations around how do we exercise Article 37? How do we set up the political dialogue conversations? How do the independent offices support the National Police Service to do lawful policing during the assemblies?
Have you reached out to the IG of Police? Or at least the National Police Service Commission?
So I'm probably not at liberty to go into that because I will put him on his defense. But just to say that I call everybody. Everybody's number that I have receives a phone call. Some people respond, some people don't respond. But I keep calling because I do have it that these offices are not there for personalities. They are there and they have a duty to serve the public.
Right.
And I just hope that some of my calls are picked more quickly than others.
NCIC, have you reached out to the
We're in the
command?
process. We're in the process.
You're in the process.
Yeah.
What's the process?
Well, because, okay, he can make calls, of course, as a private citizen and, of course, as the ED of amnesty. But in government, unfortunately, what is recognized is hard copies
of
so
a letter.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to these people probably
and stamped
on a daily
receipts.
basis, but you can never say officially. Me just calling isn't enough. Usually, it's the letters have to be written, received, then responded. So the process actually is been initiated.
Based on what we've seen before and how very quickly things can hurtle into a situation of total anarchy, is it time for conversation to be had? Is it time for dialogue between the two sides?
Actually, it's past time for dialogue, if you ask me. And why I'm saying this, and so to answer that, let me put it in context. So there's the human cost. So the official count that is given sometimes is not accurate, because I was doing Kibra. I mean, when you hear people telling you who lost their life yesterday night vis-a-vis what is reported, there's disparity. Okay, so there's a tremendous cost to human life. There's cost to property, what you saw in Northlands, what you saw in Kibra, in CBD, there's that cost. There's loss of revenue to drivers. There is a general loss of the economy. So money was 3 billion. And there's I don't know, you saw that data. On the Tuesday after demonstrations last Monday, there was net capital flight from NSC of 8 billion. Yes, so that week we lost 9 billion from the Nairobi Stock Exchange of capital. This is foreign capital. This is hard dollars that we need. So if you add 9 billion plus 3 billion,
12.
Plus, I mean, it's a lot of money. So human cost, human life, the social fabric is being torn. We are being traumatized. I mean, the cost is so enormous that if you are a rational, sober, sane person, and you care about this country, you're like, okay, we need to do something. And like Irungo said, you cannot do something over and over, expect different results. So this thing of this taking hard lines and digging in is not helping our country. It's costing us billions. It's costing us human lives. It's costing our country. As we speak, as we're busy doing all the shenanigans, 2 weeks ago, Angola and Ethiopia overtook us in terms of GDP. Okay, our economy was slated to grow by IMF standards to 2.3% last year. I think it's going to be flat, if you were to ask me. So we're not. This is a lose-lose situation. So to answer your question, if you care about this country and it's a lose situation, you better find a way to make it happen. So there's no way out apart from serious dialogue that will be rational. And if people need to be mediated by parties, there are people who are experts. We are international. These guys are. The national community are. The Americans are willing to. They've expressed interest. So there are people actually willing to shepherd this process. Say, guys, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Kenyans and Kenya.
Come to the table
losing.
and let's talk.
Yeah.
What should those talks yield? Well, apart from cessation of demonstrations, what else?
Well, see, some of the demands, of course, which have been, to be very frank with you, I don't want to say reasonable, they're just so practical. Okay? To just be very frank with you. There's some of the demands are not going to happen. And especially when you have two parties that are conflicting. Demands are not one way. We've only seen, as Emil saying, we want these. The question is what the government wants. So to me, also, it's fair to hear this side. But to me, it should. I think it's only fair if so far the grievances, of course, have been cost of living. As Emil needs to give their side. Okay, this is a solution we want to do. Okay, give us a solution and implement it. And I know people are very issues about this issue of handshake. It has been given a negative connotation. Okay, but in reality, let's face it. Let's not forget. It's given because of what happened in 2018. But let's not forget the concept of a handshake. It's deal making. You understand? So you can make a deal about an economy. So you can shake hands and say, you know what, we'll implement one or two ideas from this side. Yeah. Okay. Let's shake hands on that. It's a deal making. So it's not we've paralyzed this idea. We think it's about sharing government. No. It's about let's shake hands and agree to something. It's about an agreement. And then let's be very frank.
We'll give you the server. You can go with it. Open it at your own time.
In fact, keep it at home.
Mulete 2027.
So we can use it.
We can use it for that election. In the meantime, stay with it. Irongo, what should this...
Well, I think there are a number of issues that have been raised by Azimio. There are other issues also that are being raised by the general public. I mean, and I think the first thing is to start unbundling them and beginning to focus on them as specific conversations. So, of course, there are issues around electoral justice. I think that is less about what happened in 2022. It is more about the fear that the Electoral Commission is going to be reconstituted in favor of one political formation than the other. So I think, thinking about that process, and I don't think we have to only revolve around the return of the 4 commissioners. I think we have to look at, is the Electoral Commission going to have the integrity to manage the elections in 2027 in a manner in which not just the political formations are comfortable, but also they are capable of protecting us, the voter. Electoral commissions are not parties, representatives of political parties. They are not committee of party agents. They are essentially there to protect the voters' interest. And I think that's the first set of conversations. The second one really relates to economic recovery. And, this is probably the most powerful demand, I think, that's coming through from Azimio, because it resonates with people whose households and economies are collapsing. So there needs to be an inclusive conversation about what that would look like. And it has to be realistic in the sense that, there are certain levers that can be used, social protection measures. The last one really is around inclusive governance. And I think the bigger issues that perhaps are there but are not being addressed is the concerns that we now have a bloated government with the chief administrative secretaries. We have the handing out of jobs based on patronage. There's been the raiding of the National Assembly in terms of opposition parliamentarians. There's an attempt to capture the media. And lastly, the National Police Service is not independent. Therefore, it cannot essentially serve all without fear of favor.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Irongo Houghton, Dr. Danvas Makori, asanteni sana. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Have a lovely day. It's Wednesday. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.